if you were to ask me right now, like, who do you see as a leaders for the Democratic Party, I would tell you nobody.
And that's the problem.
Not even Gavin.
Oh.
My narrative, my view on ICE is fuck ICE. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In Spanish, chinga la migra. Mm-hmm. I don't, like, there is no honor. There is no integrity. There is not, everything that they're doing, there's nothing there. And I'll tell you why. Because I quickly realized what it really was. This is a deliberate campaign of domestic terror against Latinos. And now in DC, black people. And the promises were made that the moment that he got elected, that they would be released. At the moment that they replaced the director, that then they would be released. A week goes by and all of a sudden there are no files. And in my head I'm like, wait, you really expect us to believe, oh, this is a Democratic conspiracy and it's being perpetuated by the Obamas and the Clintons? I don't know, you know?
Because I think somebody was like, sir, you don't want to do that.
But this is the True Hustle Podcast with your host, JR.
This is the True Hustle Podcast with your host, JR.
Remember, he dialed it back and said that the hotel workers, farm workers, and restaurant workers, that he was going to dial it back on them.
And he was going to give what's called amnesty, right?
Well, yeah, and then fucking inject Stephen Miller into that conversation, and what happens? Oh, he fucking backs down. And I said it publicly. I said, anybody that can make the president of the United States back down from something that he says he's going to do, I said, that's scary to me. And Stephen Miller's that guy. He's the only one that I've seen has been able to make Trump back down. I'm going to do this. And no, the fuck you aren't.
So then you don't think...
I don't think with immigration...
You don't see that we're...
The deal with immigration is Stephen Miller has the final word on anything related to immigration. And by the way, Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of National Defense, my understanding is that he's at the... Think about it. The person that's supposed to be dealing with all the international stuff, whatever, he's at the top logistically with a domestic issue, which is the immigration.
So that you don't think we're going to get any type of amnesty?
No. As of now, I think for the next 2 or 3 years, this is going to be the new norm. Especially right now, look, we have the TRO by a federal judge is supposed to say stop doing this and that, and they're still doing it. Van Nuys just got hit. I think they were in my city in Slauson and right by the LA Fitness. They're still doing the jump outs. They're still doing the targeting.
And they don't have to give you guys a heads up that we are in your city.
No.
So it's just...
immigration enforcement, the federal government has full autonomy, full jurisdiction over it. Local municipalities, there's nothing we can do. Literally, there's nothing we can do to, stop them from enforcing immigration laws. However, like what you've seen lawsuits roll out about human rights, civil rights, and all that. That's stuff that they technically they can't do it. Like legally they can't do it. But the thing is, being held accountable, that's what takes a long ass time. Is them, and they're banking on that reactionary time. I'm gonna do all this shit, all this bullshit, and get away with it. And by the time the court tells me stop doing it, then I'm gonna stop. But what they're doing is they're saying we're gonna just keep doing it. And all they do is say, well, that was an illegitimate order by an illegitimate judge. Okay. So at that point, what is how does it escalate through the court system? Does it go to a circuit court, then, Ninth Circuit, and then after that, then does it get picked up by a bigger court or a superior court? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, or Supreme Court? And then the whole time they're able to keep doing it. But if they ignored a order, the executive branch, by a federal judge, what makes us think that they're just not going to also ignore an order by the Supreme Court as well and say that's an illegitimate order? Like, you guys got it wrong. Bro, imagine going to a court case and the judge is like, hey, you know what? We're going to give you 4 years for that. And you're like, nah, I don't agree with it. That, I'm not going to do it. Judge, you got it wrong. And the jury, you guys also got it wrong. I'll see you guys in a week. Or you just walk out of court. Like, what the fuck? Like,
that would be some...
That's what I'm saying. Imagine you tell a judge, like, no, you got it wrong.
No, you're guilty. No, you know what? No, I don't accept your guilty verdict right now. I'm going to resume. Tú no sabes ni madres. 100%. Okay, that's wild. Yeah. Like, I think perspective is really important.
And you guys got a jury where you have not intelligent people there. You just start going after everybody. And then you say, nah, you guys got it wrong. Try again.
Did they? Okay, but I seen that they did win. Like, Gavin Newsom won that lawsuit saying that they had to refrain from doing these illegal, what's it called? these illegal
the targeting.
Like what do we call it? Like
racial targeting?
Yes.
No, that lawsuit wasn't a Newsom lawsuit. That lawsuit came from, I want to say, the city of L.A.
Okay.
Or it was another, but it was ACLU. It was an ACLU lawsuit.
The ACLU, of course.
But the TRO, which is a temporary restraining order, said, and this is a judge that apparently she's on vacation. The judge was appointed by Joe Biden, federal judge, ordered a temporary restraining order saying, essentially, look, you guys cannot go and target people based on what you said you were targeting people from, because they literally went to court and said, we're going after people based on the totality of the circumstances. And they said, well, what is that? Well, where they're at, which are like Home Depot, car washes, what they're doing, obviously working. 3, if they're speaking English or not. 4, how thick their accent is. They literally named like the stuff that is like by definition like profiling. Like it's stuff that you would not be a determination if you have legal status in the country or not. And that's why we're seeing. No, literally.
Okay, wait.
Tom Homan,
wait.
Tom Homan, who's a border czar, literally went and argued that they're literally conducting their operations based on literally racial profiling.
Okay, so wait.
And literally the court laughed when he said.
So
when he tried to
what
make
you're
argument.
telling me is, essentially, they have a memo with those with a criteria.
No, it wasn't a memo. They went to court and actually defend. That was part of their argument in court.
Oh, okay.
Publicly on record, there's an argument that
they want a clarification.
They have a legal argument that states that's what they're going by, and if you take what they're saying and you apply it by definition, it literally is a definition of racial profiling.
So I have a question to that,
Wow.
because I saw an interview he did too when all this was happening, and he was saying,
Who, Tom Homan?
Tom Homan, like that operation and those callejones.
Yeah.
He was like, that's they were going after like money laundering and all this, like all the people that are like criminals there, But then the people got in the way, and then it just became a whole chaos. Like he was like, we're not.
Oh, and the initial one you're talking about the
first one.
Yeah. Then the big one, it was at that clothing store. I forget what it's called. Yeah. But it was the fabric district, right? The fabric district. Yeah.
But that one was targeted to combat money laundering and a bunch of other stuff, and it just so happened that there's a lot of undocumented people, and then everybody started, creating chaos.
Yeah, but you're gonna have that overlap. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have anywhere that there's undocumented folks, you're gonna have the overlap with the criminal element, 100%. Because think about it, who are the easy targets when it comes to like even reporting crime? Usually it's undocumented folks, and we all grew up around Los Polleros, and we knew that that guy down the street is a pollero, right? The big vans, and you have 14, 15 people living in a little apartment. You're like, okay,
which was normal for us.
Yeah, no, it's like literally like back in the days, and back in the days it wasn't even that hard to get. I have a tío that still doesn't have legal status, and I asked him like, why didn't you do the amnesty with the Reagan?
With Reagan.
He said, no, pues es que hace tiempo no importaba. You come in and out. It was nothing. Like coming into the country and leaving from Mexico was not that big of a deal. It wasn't.
You could leave a weekend and come back
100%.
on Monday.
Yeah, it was cheaper too to cross.
There was no need for it. There was no need to go and register with Reagan and start the process. Most of my family, by the way, my grandparents, my mom, dad, a lot of my tios and tias, they did the amnesty in 84 or 96, one of those.
86.
Yeah,
86. I was born 84, and the majority of my uncles and my parents.
So a lot of the Latinos jumped on that, and they did the pathway. But I think when we have the conversation about immigration, you have to like facts are facts. And right now, this is apparently like the hot button issue, and people like to take this and distort it. The reality is that and I think like you said, like the initial agreement that everybody had, even people that were Latinos that were supporting Trump, was we're gonna go after criminals and rapists, right? And everybody's like, we're not gonna argue over it. And then now what you're seeing the actually rollout is like that's out the window, because I think what they started realizing is that there's not that many, like when you start doing the numbers, it's not enough to meet the quotas you wanted to accomplish. And so I think the quota was set at 3,000. I think deportations or something like that a day, or I don't know what the arbitrary number was, but
who's reporting these numbers is my question.
You know what? It's interesting because there's actual websites for HSI, ICE, and all that where they actually have Excel files that are publicly available, and they release them every month where they show the detentions and they show the actual numbers of like if they have criminal history and all that. Obviously, they don't say names, but there's actual public data that you can go look at and digest. That's where the people get that 70-30. Out of everybody that's been arrested, 70% of them don't have a criminal record. Now people say they came into the country illegally, therefore they are criminals, which is a change up. Like that's an old bait and switch, because now you're saying it's like, wait, you didn't say that initially. No, we said criminals and rapists, and since they entered illegal, they're a criminal. Oh, so now you're saying all immigrants. Then you should have started with that. And so to me, that's the kind of bullshit, the political play with words that we deal with some of these, more conservative folks. Like,
I agree.
Well, the moment they came in, that's a criminal act. I would say that it's a civil issue between the government and that person that is in the country, whether they overstay their visa. It's a civil matter.
And I think that's the issue now. That I think, in terms of we're being pulled left and right. Both parties, I think, come up with their own freaking, and essentially they're both full of, they don't have our trust at this point, right? And I think a lot of things are just being manipulated. And for us,
they don't have our trust. What party do you identify yourself with?
Okay, what I mean is, we're being manipulated by the propaganda machine, and our emotions, because of course I've said this before, Latinos, we're emotionally driven. And I think a lot of this happening, people are not trusting these sources, and especially the media coming down and saying this is what's happening, because I think it gets manipulated to where they know it's going to trigger this emotion to our communities, and it's going to create an outrage. So it's like, who do we believe at this point?
But what party do you identify yourself with?
I was a lifelong Democrat until 2020.
Okay, and now you identify with?
I identify as a Republican.
Okay.
Conservative.
And so myself, I've been a lifelong Democrat as well. And the thing about it is that people like to take shortcuts.
Yeah.
And so the moment that you're like, oh, I'm a Republican, and there's people that are straight up are like, oh, well, I don't have nothing to talk to you about. Like, fuck you. And you're like, God damn.
Like, damn, it's not that serious.
Well, last week I was a Democrat and we were having beer. We're doing Cartels, knocking back some beers. What changed?
That is a great point.
You're like, what changed? And so my thing is, and just to be very frank, I'm part of organizations. Me as a elected official, I'm part of different organizations where there are elected officials that are Republican. There are part of the Green Party, Independents, and a lot of Democrats. Let me tell you something about politics in California, and this is like a cheat sheet to California. In California, the party that is in control of the state is a Democratic Party. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Absolutely,
statement?
I agree.
Okay, therefore, anybody that is considered a Republican or has conservative values, in order for them to successfully navigate the political space, you know what they have to be in California? They're called moderates. They're called mods. So they're Democrats, but they're mods. And a Democratic mod is someone that has a lot of the conservative principles that you see in the Republican Party. However, because of the way that the state is and it's super blue, our fight, like nationally, it's Democrats and Republicans. In California, it's liberals and mods. That's where the political, factions come in. I'll tell you myself, I'm a Marine Corps veteran, right? I served in the Marine Corps. I was a military police officer, and I trained bomb dogs. And so when it comes to this, Second Amendment, is that supposed to be on that sign, by the way?
No, it's just for show. Usually,
you need batteries or what?
No, because usually we had the third.
Yeah.
And then I would have it on, but now it's like this is more intimate, just two shots.
That's awesome.
So,
but back to what I was saying, like that's how it'd be in California. Like literally, those are the two factions. It's literally a mod, or either you're mod or liberal, And I think a lot of people, and I have friends I've talked to, and I'm like, hey, you would be great, like going into politics, and I'll tell them, but you can't be a Republican, and they're like, no, I don't care. I'm like, no, listen to me, like you can get elected, you can be a mod. They're like, what's a mod? And I break it down. Because of the Democrats.
Because it's
Because a Democratic,
it's a ocean full of blue.
Yeah, it's super blue.
So I get what you're saying.
So the discourse happens with the liberal and mod. That's where the discourse happens. Republicans, yes, there's Republicans there, and that's why you have some Democrats that whenever they feel slighted by the party or whatever, they'll just go and become. Alex Villanueva was a lifelong Democrat. Now he's a Republican. You know.
But what do you think that switch happened? Like in terms of certain.
Look, I'm going to be very honest with you. I think the Republican Party fucked up. I think after 86 with Reagan, naturally a lot of Latino families are Catholic, have very conservative values, pro-life, very family-oriented. And I think that the Republican Party in California, and at the time I think it was Governor Pete Wilson. They took a very, very strong narrative against anti-Latino, so anti-immigrant, anti-Latino sentiments when, people were going through it. And at that point it's do you go to a party where people are openly being, racist and disrespecting you publicly, openly? Or do you go to one where they do it, and it's a little more subtle, or it's through backhanded compliments, right? And that's really the two choices that Latinos were pretty much left with. I will say that I consider myself a Democrat because in regards to the social safety nets, in regards to some of that language, I feel that party takes that narrative from more a human approach, right? With the Republicans, I always get the welfare queen, myth, the myth about Black and Latinos taking advantage of this and that and only looking for handouts. And you look at the data, and majority of the welfare recipients are middle, the Bible Belt, right? Midwest, lower income white Americans. And so, what I started realizing quickly when I had conversations with, some of my military buddies that were super conservative red states is that a lot of where they would get their information was Fox News. So I watch Fox News, right? I'll sit there, I'll watch MSNBC, I'll watch CNN, I'll watch Fox, I'll watch all of those shows. I think the last time it was Tucker Carlson, he's off the air now. But most recently, some of the stuff that Tucker and Candace Owens were saying, I was agreeing with. And I was like, what? Wait, what's going on here? Right? Because there was a shit that Trump was...
What the fuck is happening here?
The shit that Trump was doing, and you're sitting there, and then they're like, oh, first of all, it was regarding the Epstein stuff. Yeah. And they both took hard lines on it, and I was like, I'm clapping, and I'm like, yes, finally. Finally, there's somebody that actually draws a line and that doesn't just pivot based on what the party is doing. And
that's something that we need.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I've been, I would say that I'm probably the most vocal critic of my own party. I'm a delegate for the county. I'm a delegate for the state, and I was a delegate for the national party when, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and man, that just tripped me out. That's when I really saw this whole, you have a choice, and I was just like, how do you have a choice?
Do you?
No, the Democratic. The Democratic Party Me Too'd the Democrats with Kamala Harris. She was forced on us. And they shoved her down our throats. So far down our throats.
Fucking.
And then they're like, well, we don't have a choice. It's already too late.
And Joe
Biden is
that's the truth.
We don't have enough time to get a candidate with name rec. And I'm like, no, you planned it that way. You did that intentionally, and you fucked us. Because let me tell you, and I consider myself a bit of a political strategist. This is what I would have done. You ready? You might not like it. You might not like it.
I'm ready though. I'm ready.
It really would have been the pathway for Kamala Harris becoming president. I've told people that the American people they're not ready for a woman president.
I agree.
And that the only way that that's going to happen is whenever a president who happens to be a man resigns or dies. And Joe Biden had the opportunity to go down in the history books because his name would have forever been connected with the first woman president in the history of the United States. As of now, we don't know about the future. But this is what I would have done. Joe Biden gets reelected, right? Joe Biden beats Trump, right? This is hypothetical. Joe Biden beats Trump. Within the first 6-7 months, to invoke the 25th Amendment, which says that the president is incapable to conduct his duties. President steps down, vice president, who's Kamala Harris, becomes president of the United States. She then has 3.5 years to create a track record as president of the United States and then run and defend her seat. That's what would have got us Kamala Harris president. That's what would have solidified, at least gave us a semi-fighting chance to, kind of have this Donald Trump Kamala. Because what happens is Donald Trump came into the presidency with a track record of being president. Kamala Harris was the vice president. Yeah. And there's a lot of It's rare. I think there's like 2 vice presidents in history that have ever became presidents out of the whole history of the nation. So
now let me ask you this.
But yeah, Joe Biden being one, and I think the other one was maybe GW, Daddy Bush.
Probably.
Maybe.
No.
Or
Is
maybe
it?
was
Check.
Jackson. Yeah. But which vice presidents have become? But what I'm saying is that even though I'm part of the party, I am able to be critical. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you have friends, it's like you're critical of your friends. Why? Because you want to see them win. You want them. The friends that criticize you are real ass friends. The ones that call you and be like, hey, in private, obviously, hey, dude, like, I want to talk to you about this. I feel like, I've seen you doing this. Can you need to start doing this because this is what's gonna. And you sit there and you're like, hey man, I appreciate it. And then you switch up, and then next you start seeing your business, whatever is going. You're like, damn, that's a real friend.
I agree with you.
Other people that are just like, oh yeah, I'm seeing him do that. That's probably not the way he should be doing it. And they just let you. They like watching a bad train wreck. They just see and they let you.
You want to know when I brought up that example of having great friends that will criticize you and call you privately and be like, hey, I don't think this is a good move. It's with the mayor or what happened with Cudahy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I told you or if I told Eric, like, this is where good friends come in. Say, hey, I think you need to bring that shit down. Like, what you said is, like, things that you say between your friends, I don't think that should be out there publicly because it just sounds wrong. And
well, I was doing, and I told you earlier, I was doing an interview with Fox 11 in front of City Hall because I was essentially, and it's funny because I had like a bulletproof vest, a balaclava, a Dodger sweater, and I showed them it takes you 30 seconds. 30 seconds for me to slap on a vest, a balaclava, and a hat, and essentially look what, how ICE agents are operating, no uniform, plain clothes, 30 seconds. And the reporter's like, by the way, your colleague just said this and this. And I'm like, I know her. I've known her for years. She's, was school principal in South Central for 17 years. She literally made it her mission to steer kids away from gangs and, and then he's like, yeah, but do you support her comments? And I was like, not at all. Like, I don't support those comments. If anything, I was like, I'll denounce them because that's not okay. We shouldn't allow the gaps of safety, public safety, or the public feeling safety. That shouldn't be left up to gangs because later on it's going to be a big problem. And that's really the issue that we're having was that the police is trying to kind of fill, that dynamic of public safety and the public feeling safe. And then you have federal agents coming in doing all this craziness, and it really is hurting that relationship because when a community member sees a police officer or an ICE agent, they don't see the difference. They see the gun, they see the vest, they see the trucks, unmarked vehicles, so they see the one and the same. And that's the issues that we're having with that. So
back to, let's say Kamala would have been president.
Wait, when is this interview going to start?
Monday.
No, I'm saying, when is it going to start? Are we already?
We're going already.
Oh,
We've been started. This is Joe Rogan status, baby.
Oh, nice.
Shit, we started.
I was waiting for the light to start.
No, this is Joe Rogan status.
Well, I'm glad I haven't said anything crazy.
It's like with Scott Storch tells Joe Rogan, hey, when does the interview start? He's like, bro, we started 20 minutes ago.
We started shooting 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But go ahead. You said
back to the
Kamala Harris.
Let's say Kamala Harris was our first president. What would things look like now if she would have been elected our president?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know, because when Joe Biden got elected, and they do have a point. When Joe Biden got elected, there was this era of like, okay, now the U.S. is more open to accepting, the sanctuary visas and blah blah, and the border. And you can talk to any agent, ICE agent that was there at the time. They were being overwhelmed. Like there was no way that they were able to process everybody that was, trying to come into the United States to seek asylum or just in general. And so I'm not sure that that's what we would have had, because you saw when she was vice president, what did she say? Don't come here, right? Kamala Harris told immigrants.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Do not come here. Do not come here. And I was just like, I said, that's going to be a little difficult with Latinos, especially because majority of our family or histories were immigrants. So I don't know what it would look like. I will tell you that what it would look like in regards to the directors and the cabinet, you would actually have people that are actually qualified to do those jobs. I mean, our director of education or secretary of education is Linda McMahon. who, you know what I'm saying? Like, I love WWE or WWF, but
this is the education.
I
this
know.
This is not no freaking.
But you're sitting there and you're like, wait, what? You know what I'm saying? And then you have this 22-year-old that was like Trump's gardener, worked for the gardener, and then worked at a grocery store. 22 years old, and he's a director of what is it, like National Homeland Security? Like not Homeland Security.
He has a high position.
Yeah, but still.
It's like, dude, you're how old?
But still, I have nephews there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm like,
22. I don't think you should be old.
Some people we know have kids that old.
That's what I'm saying. I have a kid that old. Imagine my son in that position. Like,
yeah. Hey, props to him. But I'm saying, like, then you can't then hit us with the DEI bullshit. You can't then hit us with the DEI bullshit of people getting jobs that are unqualified for it, and then you look at that and you turn your head and say, well, I get it. He has every right to appoint whoever he wants to those cabinet positions. But just appoint people that are competent. You know, you're appointing people to these positions that are incompetent, that have no idea what the fuck they're doing. They're not prepared to take in thousands of people, feed thousands of people, clothe thousands of people, provide medical care for thousands of people, house thousands of people. And then you have all these human rights violations that are taking place. People are dying because they're not getting basic medication. You have overcrowding. I mean, the horror stories that are coming out now, I called it 2 months ago. I said, wait till you hear the stories of these detention centers. And that's my point. That's what happens when you do something, whether it was intentional or not, it's being done literally, like, it's being driven and managed by people that are incompetent, have no idea what they're doing. And the human bodies, the human casualties that are going to come from it, that was like what I was speaking out against. So we had a conversation, or you mentioned earlier, the federal government has every right to come in and enforce immigration 100%. Just the same way that I have every right to be critical of how it's done.
Absolutely. You
know what I'm saying? And I think we go back to the First Amendment rights. Now imagine that my First Amendment rights, they say, you know what, well, we're not going to honor Arturo's First Amendment rights. So we're going to go arrest him and say that the interview he did with, True Hustle Podcast, that it's inciting violence, or it's that it's calling for violence, or it's calling for whatever. We're going to arrest him. And then we sit there and we go back to the whole video, and then you're like, well, where was this? Well, it's based on what we interpret it as. And so why I go so hard for this issue is because this is the Republicans, conservatives issue, immigration. What happens when the Democrats are in power in 4 years and then their issue's guns? You know what I'm saying? Or what happens when the next issue we're talking about is literally freedom of speech? So it's literally a race to the bottom. And that's my concern, that is, if we trample one constitutional protection or constitutional amendment, then what's to stop us from trampling on the other 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or just all of them? And so at some point, when I have these conversations with my friends, and I say friends because I do consider them friends that are Republicans, that's the hill I'm dying on. It's like you have an obligation to speak up and say something, because this is how it starts. And then next thing you know, the Democrats, which obviously is my party, think that it's okay to do it for guns when we're in power, and say, well, you did it for immigrants, so we're going to do it that way. Okay, well, then take us to court. Okay, yeah, that's an illegitimate judge. He was appointed by Trump. That's an illegitimate court order. We're going to ignore that. Like, that's the era that we're entering, right, of politics, of like, and I will say this. I can't imagine all those veterans. I know how I feel, but the veterans that went and fought, 3, 4, 5 wars, or, fought in the Vietnam War, Korean War, or Desert Shield, to defend the Constitution and have these protections, and then now they're seeing our government actively trample them, and you're sitting there and you're like, wait, but I thought we did all this to protect that, and I thought that was sacred. I thought that's something that you don't touch. You don't even you don't dabble there. That's not a gray area. And what we're seeing is that everything's on the table now, and that's scary. That's the scary part. If there's anything scary, that's what made me go buy more guns.
And I think it must be like
and bullets.
Tons of bullets.
Yeah.
It must be disappointing for you guys that fought for this country. And
it is, but
it
is. But I will tell you this: that there are, and you've seen it. You've seen, the administration asks prosecutors, ask people to do certain things, and they resign, and they say no. Say, well, I'm not doing that. And they'll submit the letter of resignation, and they'll submit why they're resigning. A lot of it was the Epstein stuff, And there's some other stuff where there was a prosecutor that they asked her, I forget what she was asked to do, and she's like, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's not right.
What do you think?
I remember what it was. She was charged with the mayor of New York, how the corruption, that she was one of the spearheads. She was like a deputy attorney. She's like a deputy prosecutor, whatever. They told her to cut a deal with him because he said and told the administration
with what's it called, Epstein? I mean, with
the mayor of New York.
Okay, yeah.
He said, hey, I forget what his name is. Maybe you can look it up. But he literally cut a deal with the Trump administration. He said, hey, New York, we'll help you guys, but I have this case for corruption that's preventing me from helping you guys. And then they literally went and argued that in court. The girl that was supposed to do it, she was an attorney. She literally ended up resigning and said, I'm not going to do that. That's not okay. That's not right. And she resigned in protest. But I'm saying that's the stuff that gives you hope, where you're like, damn, there's people that are in there that are seeing what's going on. And later on, you're going to see all the tell-all books come out. And I get it. You got to pay your mortgage. I get it. But even but Rubio.
You got to be careful who you tell on, because you might be found in, you might drown in a 3-foot lake. I mean, 3 foot, 3 foot puddle.
6-inch puddle.
It's the fucking puddle.
A 6-inch puddle.
I mean you know what I mean? This shit is wild, man.
And it's very true, because when you start,
and nobody questions that.
When you start going into national, like things that are considered national security, the protections, the legal protections, all that, they start coming down, especially with Patriot Act and all that. I don't know if you caught that when Trump first became president, he designated all the cartels to be terrorist organizations.
Terrorists.
Right? And I was telling somebody, I said, do you know why that actually bust open California and Chicago and all these areas? I said, all the trafficking, all the human trafficking, all the drug smuggling. I said, who does that? And they're like, the cartels do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now they're terrorist organizations. Do any of our protections, you have to get a warrant, to wiretap, to monitor phones, do any of those protections apply to terrorist organizations? No. Patriot Act.
Yeah.
And I said, so that means that anybody that might have a primo or tío or anybody that's dabbling in that, and you're in that what is it, the 3 rings? 1, 2, it's like 3 degrees of separation. You're susceptible to.
And once they're considered terrorists, the U.S. no longer needs permission to go into.
The Patriot Act ends up coming into play, which, if you know what the Patriot Act was, 9/11 was that they don't need a warrant to go look at emails and phones.
But they don't need a warrant to go in and go into Mexico?
No, not Mexico. We're talking about,
that's what I'm trying to get at.
We're talking about United States operations.
Because now that they're considered terrorists, shit, they could locate them. You know what I'm saying? Take a little trip.
It's by way of the Patriot Act. It's literally by way of the Patriot Act that all those protections go out the window. So I pointed that out to my friends. Did you see what happened with the designation? And he's like, yeah, but I said, no, there's more to it. Like, once that designation hits, it busts open the door. Like, all those protections that the rights of this, they're gone. They're gone. They're on the same list as the Taliban, as Al Qaeda, as Hamas, all those different organizations. I forget with the Lebanon one, but there's also one in Lebanon that the U.S. has deemed.
They're up there with Osama bin Laden.
I mean, the U.S. has a list of organizations that they consider to be, terrorist organizations. So
I have a question. So if, like, let's say me, I have a cousin who's in a cartel affiliate, the government has a right to tap into my stuff without.
I forget what the number of degrees are, but I believe it's up to 3 degrees of separation, meaning that your cousin, because he's, let's say, connected to the cartel, they can go look at all his shit, they can look at all your shit, and then anybody that you're talking to. Gotcha. So it's 1, 2, 3. Which, if you think about it, isn't there like a law that says, like, you 3 people, like, if me and you sit here and talk long enough, we'll find 1 or 2 or 3 people that we know, like, you know what I'm saying, like that, either by what school you go to or what gym you go to, or what church.
That's kind of like, how do you determine that, though, right? Like,
who cares?
Well,
they don't give a.
Who cares?
I mean,
the point is, 1, you have to catch it. 2, you have to challenge it, and then 3, how do you hold it accountable if you don't know what's happening? Right?
And
so that's the part that happened with the whole thing with Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
With the leaking of the WikiLeaks and all that, with with the guy that was like overseas.
Yeah.
I forget what his name is. But he was like a political refugee. That's why it was so damaging, is because the stuff that he put out about how the U.S. was spying on our own allies when they were, and These literally, it's like damaging. Like, imagine we're all cool, and the next year you start finding out your compadre the whole time that you were staying at his house as a guest, has
fucking secret camera
and is recording everything, and then you're like, it's damaging.
It's just damaging to the relationship. Like, I thought we were cool.
And I forget what the guy's name is, but the WikiLeaks guy, he ended up airing all that out, and so there's stuff that goes on that we have no idea. Obviously, you don't want to be the target of anything, right? You don't want like the goal with the American dream is to, for you to be able to live a peaceful life, be able to, work a decent job, provide for your family, raise a family, right? Like white picket fence, right? 2-car garage. You know what I'm saying? Wife goes to bridge club, and then, you and, you know what I'm saying? Saturdays you go take the kids to soccer. I mean, I would argue that doesn't exist anymore. You know what I'm saying? I argue that that's dead.
I would agree. And
so it's unfortunate, but we have people now in government, in Congress, right, that are in their 70s. And I had a conversation, I would say like 2 weeks ago, where I said, do you know that the Democratic Party had 3 sitting Congress members that died in office? It was one from like Arizona, Texas, and I forget the other one. But 3 of them, they were all over 70. 2 of them were like actively fighting cancer. And when that vote came down, when they ended up, I forget what vote it was, if those 3 people would have been alive and in Congress, that vote would have not passed. And it was a very, very, I'm trying to think of what the vote was, but it goes back to kind of this idea of like, wait, who is in Congress representing us? Who is in Congress championing and because think about it, like, how can you go and defend and fight for an America that you grew up in, that you live in, that no longer exists, right? Because in their mind, they're like, well, just get a job and then buy a mortgage and pay the 2-car garage and put Bobby and Susie through school. You want me to do that on a factory job? Are you fucking crazy? Like, I'm not sorting bolts anymore. Like, we don't sort bolts and then that's what we're able to afford anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't happen. As a matter of fact,
things have changed.
All those jobs
a
are
whole
gone.
lot.
All those jobs got outsourced. They're in Mexico. They're in India. They're in Canada. The NAFTA came in and ended up, boom, everything gone. So I would argue and say that there's folks that in their mind, like that's how they grew up. But that's what they're conditioned and thinking, that it's just that simple. And it's like, it really isn't. Like, you're in real estate and you've been in real estate for how many years now?
18 years.
So in 18 years that you've seen the shifts from the market in 18 years to now, I'm going to tell you right now, anybody that can buy a property, a house in this market, you know what I'm saying? Round of applause. Because
they have to have tons of money and their shit together.
You literally have to have a full-time job. You have to have a side hustle.
Both.
And you got to be doing a little bit of fraud.
Just to get by. You have to be making over $250,000 combined.
Yeah. Well, what it was that with substance. So initially it was just single income household. Then inflation keeps going up. Then guess what? Women's suffrage. So now your wife can work. So now it's you and your wife. You're working, and guess what? Now you're like, we have that extra room right there. Let's rent it to a family member. So now you literally, people, before they even knew it, were becoming landlords and were managing properties and working out lease agreements out of necessity, just to be able to pay, bills. When at one point, you're right, you would have one job, and that job you'd pay the mortgage, you'd pay the your 2-car, 2 cars, and then your 2-car garage home, and then Bobby and Susie want to go to college, and you'd be able to pay the tuition. That doesn't exist anymore. Like, we really got robbed. We got robbed. Like,
there is a more American dream, right? In terms of
that dream.
But why do you think? I think home ownership is going to be obsolete in a few years. It's going to be super unaffordable. Do you think that's by design? Because they want us to essentially rent.
Well, I think you're looking like more like, you have like urban sprawl, right? Which is like the suburbs and whatnot. At one point, that was the answer. Is like these developments, you go live in the suburbs, and freeways came in, so it was a 10, 15-minute drive. Now you have people that are catching the train from the IE to come work in LA, and then catching the train back. And so to me, it's like, when I was dating is like, if you live in the valley and I have to jump on the 405, oh, this ain't gonna work out. Literally, like, hey, where do you live at? Oh, I live in San Fernando. Oh, okay, nice knowing, nice talking to you.
Adios.
Yeah, ain't nobody jumping on the 405. I'm not jumping on the 405 for nobody. You know what I'm saying? And just because of that track, the moment you hit the 405, that's minimum 45 minutes, especially during rush hour. So, I mean, when you say like, what is the future? I think that there has to be a market adjustment. Everybody keeps calling for a crash. I don't think a crash is going to happen.
I don't think so.
But I will say this, that at some point, we have to step in and we have to, as a government, figure out how we actually make, help facilitate ownership. And I'll tell you why. In my city, it's like 70-30. 30% actually own and live in Huntington Park. The other 70 are renters. And when you have folks...
Wow, really?
I think it's like, I would say 60-40, but I think it's changed. But that's how drastic it is.
I think Southgate is 60-40.
Well, HP, I think it's a lot worse. But what I was going to tell you is what ends up happening is that when you have a lot of people that are just renting, there is no buy-in. There is no, ownership of that property, of the house, of whatever it might be. And what you start seeing is essentially this kind of like, disengagement from even the community. You're not in tune with, laws that are being passed or how they impact you or how they impact your property or how they impact your livelihood because you're just renting. So you're like, I just pay the rent and that's it. When you're an owner, you like, let me go sign up to this newsletter. Let me sign up to these notifications.
Things change, right?
Whenever the city wants to change any ordinance or anything, you become more mindful of it because now you have something that I wouldn't say you really own it, but there's stake. You have buy-in.
Absolutely.
Because you're always paying property taxes, which, by the way, I don't think property taxes should exist. But
brother, don't get me started on that one.
Taxes once on something, you mean I got to pay for the rest of my life? Can you explain that to me? So,
like, how you pay taxes on?
Do you live in Southern California and are you looking to buy, sell, or refinance one of your properties? What better agent to represent you than the host of True Hustle Podcast? Go ahead, give us a call or send us a text at 323-352-7946. Now let's get back to the episode, baby.
The same item that you bought once.
Yeah. So for 30 years, you pay taxes on it, and then after you own it, you still keep paying taxes until the day you die. So do you really own the land? So I say it's more like you're leasing it.
Yeah, you know why?
If you're leasing land, shouldn't the person that's leasing it to you be responsible for maintaining it? It's like a car.
And try not paying for those motherfuckers.
It's like a car, right?
And if you don't pay for them, they're gonna take your shit.
They're supposed to do the oil change and they're supposed to do the tires.
Something fun.
we're getting into tax law now.
Shit.
Yeah.
But bro, this is insane. Like,
yeah. So I mean,
what would happen if Trump would? No. Well, he did mention that he would, because they're trying to pass this law in Florida that's going to remove property taxes. Hypothetically speaking, what would happen here?
Trump made a statement that said anybody that makes under 100. He said it. I don't know if it's a campaign promise, and he said anybody that makes under 150,000 doesn't have to file taxes. And then I sat there and I said, if this were to pass, which Congress would never, I don't think Congress would ever be on board with it. Mm-hmm. But if that were to pass, like I could see him being very popular with people, because the reality is that Trump is appealing because he talks like normal people, and he complains and crashes out like normal fucking people do.
Yep.
That's why he's so
like the common folk.
Yeah, like the common folk.
Yeah.
He crashes out like the common folk. Goes off on rants. On his coworkers, goes off on rants on his subordinates.
He calls them low IQ, like shit that we were saying, like shit talking, like guy talk.
But some of the
he says that shit on fucking on TV.
But what it does but what it does politically, there is a deterioration, because at some point, I think the last debate that had like decorum was the Obama McCain debate, where I think they said something about Obama, and McCain stepped in and was like, no, I know him. We disagree on stuff, but I know him. There's a level of integrity there. Now, McCain didn't become president, right? Obama did. But still, like, I think that's the last time that I really, truly saw, kind of that, a respectable back and forth. Yeah, just professional.
Man, I just think that once after Obama, all hell broke loose, and we lost that.
Well, Obama, kind of left office, and then he just kind of disappeared, right? Like, I feel that the last leader for the Democratic Party was Obama, and then he just kind of disappeared. Everybody thought that Michelle Obama was going to run or step in or step up, whatever. And she wrote a book, and they not to say that they haven't been involved, but they have not been in the national limelight.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me right now, like, who do you see as a leaders for the Democratic Party? I would tell you nobody.
And that's a problem.
Not even Gavin.
Oh.
Not even Gavin.
Oh.
Our governor has been stepping up with immigration and saying all the right things, all the right talking points, but I still can't pass a law that allows my residents to vote because the state of California says that you have to be a citizen to vote. And so my thing is, look, I have residents that eat here, they sleep here, they shit here, they raise families here, they pay bills here, they own property here, they own business here, and they don't have a say-so in who they elect as their leaders. I mean, to me, that's bullshit. I can't pass a law because the state of California has in their constitution that you have to be a citizen to vote. Why? So if you're saying that Trump is going after undocumented, after people and taking all these rights away, then shouldn't there be a counter push, right? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction saying, well, let's empower some of these folks.
But of course, he wants to just say the right things.
Well, it's lip service. So to me, is if you're really about it, then
do something.
Then do an executive order or put it and let the state of California, let our leaders actually vote on it to allow for us local municipalities. If you don't want to die on that sword, if you don't want to catch, I know he's running for president. If you don't want to, hurt, yourself in that race, in his candidacy for presidency, then at least let the local municipalities let us decide. Not all cities are going to want that, and local cities, they're very militant about protecting, local rights and local autonomy from the state. But the point is just let us figure it out, right? And I think the state can do that by saying, hey, we're going to take that off on our end, and, local municipalities can decide that. At the end of the day, my goal is to energize my population, energize my residents about being excited about getting involved and feeling like they're part of the direction that we're moving the city in, because then it doesn't become the city, right? Then it's a we. And that's my goal as a leader, is like, this is a we. Like, you know what I'm saying? If at one point I feel like it's the weight is too much to carry myself or with my colleagues, and, the energy's not there, or the people are not, hey, they want somebody else or whatever, like, I'll step away. I'll resign. Like, yeah, you know what? It's not working out. But,
it's big.
But for the most part, the things I've been saying that I've been doing, people have been really receptive about it. Oh, my goal 100% is literally to find who's gonna, take my place. And I don't think it's gonna take me 12 years to figure that out. I think if I have my election that's coming up next year, then while I'm gonna be running for re-election. If that happens, or if I decide to run for re-election, that'll be my last term. I don't see myself staying in the city for 8 years, 12 years, 16 years. I think. So
you could continue. I mean, there is no set terms.
Our term limits are 4 terms, and they're 4 years every term. So I can potentially stay in the city of Huntington Park if the people keep electing me for 16 years. Do I want to stay there for 16 years? I don't think so. I think that, the younger leaders have an obligation to step up and to lead the city. And it's, for me, my role is to foster and mentor, that young leadership to take my place, so that later on I can call them and complain about shit. You know what I'm saying? Now it's my turn. You know what I'm saying? But you have to. But I think people get into these positions that they get so drunk with power and they don't know how to walk away. They don't know how to let it go. And that's when you change.
Well,
oh my God!
You beat me to the punch. Okay,
oh my God.
Now that you bring that up,
don't even get me started on Nancy Pelosi. Don't even get me started on Chuck Schumer. Don't get me started on Mitch McConnell. Don't get me started on, rest in peace, Dianne Feinstein. But it goes back to what I was saying. Like my criticism, and actually, I'm not gonna say anything about Dianne Feinstein. But my point is this: because there's 2 people that you can't talk bad about. That's the dead and children. You don't touch them.
Man.
And
Amen to that.
When we're talking about what happened with the schools going back in and some of these operations that were happening right outside of schools, if at that point that doesn't do it for you, then I don't know what will. But back to the Pelosi thing, you cannot. And by the way, not to say that Nancy Pelosi's not there mentally sharp, the acuteness, it is. But my point is this: there's elected officials, senators that will, with the same thread that they're hanging on to power, is the same thread that they're hanging on to life. And at that point, the person that has the power for that seat, for the chairmanship, is the person that holds their hand while they sign whatever they're signing. And so when you get to that point, that's when I say, like, okay, that's the kind of shit that, that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, no. Like, that's it. Like, no. And
I agree with you. And I think that we undermine Congress. Like, that's a big problem, brother.
Yeah.
That is not addressed. Okay, Trump, whatever. California?
Well, Congress doesn't have term limits.
Exactly.
And
how is that?
And you don't have to live in the area you represent for Congress. That means if I wanted to, I can run for a congressional seat in San Francisco. I can run for a congressional seat in San Diego. I can run for a congressional seat, any area.
How is that not a problem? And why is it?
I'll tell you why it is. I'll tell you why it is a problem. It is a problem because you cannot represent an area. I can't be a Congress member for an area and then live in Beverly Hills or live over there, Windsor Hills, where all the judges live, and represent South Central, right? And then after 8:30 at night, South Central is a very different beast, right? You have all the shootings, whatever. But I'm completely oblivious to the reality of that community because I don't live there. So how
great point.
Am I as a representative going to say, I want to champion this and this and this? Everything that I'm championing might even be issues from the community that you actually live in, not the one that you actually represent. So it's important for you to live in the community you represent. And it goes back to what I said, because you get up and a perfect example, 3 weeks ago, I went out and I went on a walk to Salt Lake Park. You guys familiar with Salt Lake Park?
I used to play AYSO right there, brother.
Exactly. I heard you were a legend.
Well, they call me fucking El Goleador de Huntington Park.
Yeah. A little memo.
Shit, I was pretty good.
They still...
Young Memo Ochoa right there. El Cuauhtémoc.
Legends are still spoken.
But,
I went on a walk and they repaved, this running route that was all broken up because of the pool. And if you want, we can talk about the pool.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that.
But they repaved it, right? And so I went and I'm walking, and then I realized that there's still a chain link fence around it, but a piece of it, they stole it and it's missing. So I call my city manager and I'm like, hey, oh shit, you know what I was gonna tell you? I had one of my directors of communication that was supposed to be coming, or he wanted to come.
Is that the one that sent me the messages?
Yeah, they locked the door.
No, because we always lock it. I don't want people coming in.
Okay, I'm gonna tell him. You want to grab him?
You say you were walking down Huntington Park, Salt Lake Park, my old stomping grounds. What?
Yeah, there's legends that are still told about you there.
Leyenda. I still have the pictures of.
He's like Al Bundy.
Guess what my soccer team was called? My first soccer team. It's the most stereotypical fucking name.
I would say Los Alacranes.
Aztec Warriors.
The Aztecs would have been good too. I think Southgate has Aztecs. So
yeah? We're pretty good though. So back to the, so you were walking down Salt Lake.
Yeah, so, I'm walking down in my park, right? And this is like afternoon, just a little stroll, and I noticed that a piece of the fence is missing, and it's a chain link fence that's surrounding where the pool was supposed to be built. And I called my city manager.
$18 million pool?
$25 million.
Oh,
yeah.
All right, we'll get into that after your story.
$25 million in 2018. So I called my city manager. I'm like, hey, there's a piece of this fence that's missing, and he's like, oh, well, nobody reported it. Let me check. He goes, asks around, nobody reports it, and then obviously. He goes and gets a police report on the theft and whatever. And then I start looking around and I'm like, okay, the grass is looking a little bit dead. Okay, looking a little dirty. And I call him back and I'm like, hey, like, what's going on with the park? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, no, like, what's going on? Like, do we have a water shortage? Like, the grass is brown. I don't feel like it's being watered. There's patches that have dirt on them. Those are not just dirt triangles. They're supposed to be patches, like grass patches, like it's, landscaping design or plants or something. I said, it just looks really bad. So, he was like, okay, we're going to get on it. But my point was, that's the importance, and that really highlights the importance of being present and actually seeing what's happening in the community. Because, people can show up to the city council meetings to complain, but they'll show up to complain when it's already gone out of control. And if you're able to catch it early and see it firsthand, then when they come back and say, well, no, it's not as bad or it's not this, it's like, no, I've seen it. I've been there, right? I think the past 2 months I did 4 ride-alongs with the police department.
Really?
Yeah. And it was just to see what's going on in my city, right? And people are like, just.
Can I go on the next one?
I can give you a form. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. I'll give you a form. You submit the request, and we'll get you out there with a penny for like an hour or two, so you could do a ride along. But that's a kind of stuff that of highlighting the importance of being a leader that actually lives in the community. We had a councilwoman that was living in Southgate. Shout out to Southgate, by the way.
I heard. I've heard.
Yeah. So that one was interesting.
Is that the one that was involved? No, she lived in Downey. The one that was involved in the scandal, in the fraud for the $25 million or something like that.
No, I don't.
Or maybe I'm wrong.
No.
Okay.
I mean, Huntington Park has had a former councilwoman that lived in Downey. This is back in like 2012. 13 years ago or something like that. Maybe even longer. But it's happened before.
Okay.
No, but with this one, it was a new one of the newly elected ones. And it's an unfortunate situation, right? In February, her family got evicted from the city, and the family moved to Southgate. And apparently, it was like very, she's young. I think she was like 21 when she first got, elected to council. And first generation Latinos, you're not, very traditional. You're not gonna go live on your own. And so that's really what happens. Apparently, they took her to Southgate, and
I love Southgate. Shout out
to Southgate. But there was a very thorough, and it's still an active investigation that's going on. But the city did find essentially proof evidence that showed that she didn't have residency or domicile. And it actually, I would say, probably goes back to like February of last year. She got elected in March, so the entire time that she was on, council, she was not living in the city. And so we ended up actually appointing a new councilwoman in May. Okay. Whose name is Nancy Martiz. Straight badass. I mean, she has, 2 bachelors from Smith College, which is in like New Hampshire, somewhere in the East Coast. Has her master's in public administration from Long Beach. Has worked in HR for like 17 years. Actually, she works for the Walt Disney Company.
No way.
It's like she works for the mouse.
Oh, shit.
But she's amazing. Like, she really is, that example of someone that is, a civic leader that wants to be in this role to really elevate and amplify, the voice of the communities and find ways to, make our community safer. You're able to actually go on a run and feel safe. You're able to actually enjoy parks and we don't have that many green spaces. So the least we could do is our green spaces that we do have, which are like 3 or 4 of them, they can be really nice, right?
And safe.
Yeah. And by the way, I think the city got sued over that.
Over what?
Over that the removal and the appointment. Yeah, she ended up going back and sued the city. Yeah. It's still going. So I can't comment on active litigation. But what I will say is that another former council member ended up suing a gentleman by the name of Valentin Amezquite. He ended up partnering up with her lawyer and then sued the city, saying that the city didn't appoint in time. He lost that case, and so the city's going to be going after him for attorney fees.
Probably personally too, right?
Example of was that fuck around and find out?
Yeah.
But yeah,
test the waters, homie. You will find out.
No, and the city's not playing. Like we are. A lot of people don't know this, but even like we talked about Salt Lake. When I came on council in 2022, there's a lot of stuff that was going on in the city. By like 2023, 2024, I had already started like submitting formal requests for investigations. One of those investigations was a pool. The other one was an investigation into our transportation contracts, and there's a few other ones. And in August of 2024, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was about the residency for that council member. Was another one. So it was like 3 or 4 that were actively going on. And then, in February of this year, the district attorney's office executes 11 search warrants, and they end up raiding City Hall, and they put all of our employees, they put them all in the council chambers. They locked down City Hall for like 3 days. And they start going through everything, collecting electronic devices. And
so they could take
the DA took
your personal phones and stuff like
personal and city phones of whoever was associated with that investigation. So they ended up taking, they ended up raiding a former council member, Graciela Ortiz's home.
Mm-hmm.
They ended up raiding a former, actually a current former mayor, but current council member, Karina Macias, her home also got raided. And then they ended up raiding the home of a gentleman by the name of Efren Martinez,
mm-hmm.
who was at the time of the pool thing, I think he was like the chair of the planning commission. So his house got hit as well. And then they also hit the contractor, it was JT Construction. They hit his house in like Glendale. So some Armenian contractor in Glendale, they hit his house as well.
Armenian.
And they ended up taking cell phones, laptops, everything. I mean, the works. And folks have talked to me about it, and I tell folks, look, there's no star witness here. Like everything that's happening here, it's all financial, it's all digital, it's all electronic, it's all literally a financial forensic investigation of wiring money, moving money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without it being legitimately authorized. That's the investigation. Like the list of charges are like 4 or 5 different charges, like embezzlement, is public corruption, misuse of public funds, conspiracy, like all this like 4 or 5 charges. And the raids, the name of the raids, and a lot of people know, it's called Operation Dirty Pond. I'm like, drain the swamp.
Drain the swamp.
But that's the name of the raids. The name, you want to know what the name of the investigation is?
What?
The name of the investigation is Efren Martinez.
Who,
as many people know, was one of the main consultants for a lot of the HP City Council for like 10 years. He was the guy that did all the elections, that got everybody elected. That's the name of it. That's a formal, official name on all the warrants on the top. It says name of investigation.
So he's been doing a lot of shady ass shit for a while.
I mean, whatever.
Basically,
whatever the DA's looking into, I mean, they didn't mince words in saying like, we're going after you, right? And so I would say anybody that has any business dealings, other cities that are involved with him, because whatever companies he has, whether transportation or cannabis or whatever it is, I would say that other cities who were like, well, we didn't get raided, is like, yeah, but that's the same guy that has a contract in your city. So it's like, you might,
once you start digging,
that's what I'm saying, but you start trying to draw like the degrees of separation. Like, well, we didn't get raided. It's like, well, okay, well, I know you're trying to make that as a statement, and the correct word might be yet. You didn't get raided yet.
So how much money did he mishandle?
Well, let's just be clear. It wasn't he mishandling money, right? I believe that the investigation is looking into what his involvement was pertaining to directors, pertaining to the contract agreements. The thing with the Aquatic Center is that the Aquatic Center came in, and a lot of people don't know this, came in as an unsolicited bid. An unsolicited bid is literally, you're walking down the street, I walk up to you and I say, hey, I'll give you $100 for that watch. And then you're like, no, okay, $150. All right, cool. Bid, the actual bid is like you putting it on Craigslist or OfferUp saying I'm selling it. And then people coming to you making offers. So the Aquatic Center is literally this is a claim that this pool contractor, first of all, they never built any fucking pools, but that this contractor came to the city. None. This is how many pools they've built. This is how many pools. The experience is that. DEI hire, I guess.
Oh,
but they came to the city and said, we're going to do a $25 million pool, state-of-the-art aquatic center, and it's going to be right in the middle of Salt Lake Park. And that the city essentially like, yeah. There's a organization called CFAC, which is like the construction industry. Like, it's like they literally are like the watchdog for contracts. They sued the city and said, you guys can't just give them the contract. And the city went to court with them, fought it out, and the city said, okay, fine, you guys win, we'll terminate it. And the first contract, which was a bona fide one that was signed and everything, was terminated. So that was, and I'm glad I'm talking to you and you have a little bit of experience with contracts. So that contract was nullified. The second contract, or the second time that they went out to bid, they actually got bids from different, folks. Obviously, the bids came in, 100 million, 150 million, 450, whatever. It's like way higher.
Yeah.
And that contractor still came in with the lowest bid, and he got it. But this time he got it with the actual bid going out. That contract, the second contract, was never signed by our city manager and was never signed by our city attorney. So there, on paper, there is no contract that has been ratified, signed, nothing.
Well, essentially, it's not a legal binding contract, right? It lacks signatures.
Correct. Doesn't have.
Okay, this is gonna get good. All right, continue.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
What the fuck?
So you see there, you're like, okay, so we've determined that there's no contract.
Okay.
Right. So even with there not being any contract, for whatever reason, the former city council at the time was approving checks to be issued out. And some of those checks were pretty big checks. Like the initial check that they issued out, I think 2 weeks before they got a cease and desist, they sent out, or a month before, they sent out a check for 8.7 or somewhere in like the $8-9 million range that they
to that contractor.
contractor. Yeah. So almost half of what the project was.
Bro, that's a lot of money,
and then
brother.
2 weeks after that, 1.7 million. So this is, and then that same like week or the next week, the city gets slapped with a cease and desist from Cal Recycle and from the LEA, which is the LA counties, like, they oversee the contracts and they, anything land use, you got to get their approval. And then you're saying Cal Recycle, you're saying LEA, you're like, wait, why are they getting involved? The place where they wanted to build a pool used to be a landfill. And so any development that deals with landfill because of the gases and the toxic this and that has to go through those agencies. They have to sign off on it. They have to give you the approval. And a lot of the testing takes years because they got to put in probes. They got to dig in, go 12 feet, put in probes, monitor the gas.
Samples.
Soil samples.
Yes.
So they did soil remediation. So they took out some of the soils, and I think that was like, $2-3 million. But that's it. But the city, to my knowledge, when I got the reports, we have expelled on that project that we've given the contractor, I want to say, or just in total, about $16 million. And then we asked, hey, where's the money to the contract? And they lawyered up. And we said, hey, you made the claim that you bought, all this material, return the material. There is no contract. Return the material and return whatever funds you have to the city. And they haven't done it. And so the city, I think at this point, we have to start exploring litigation against that contractor. However, there's still a criminal investigation going on. So I don't know if we wait because there's still a criminal, right? The DA's investigation going on. And obviously, we need our money.
But I thought these contracts with these contractors are in phases.
Oh, 100%.
So what phase was give me half up front? This is mind-blowing to me.
So literally, anybody that knows about development knows that just to get entitlements is an entire process within itself. It'll take you anywhere between 3 to 4 years just to get the entitlements, just to go through all the CEQA, just to go through Cal Recycle, just to go through the LEA, all the testing, all the soil sampling, all of that, just to get the thumbs up and say, hey, you can build now. Then after that, right, you do an initial phase one. Here's, your 1 million, your 2 million. Then you start building. Then you get to your halfway point of completion. Okay, here's your 5. Here's your 8 or 5, and then you go to the 3/4 points, and then you at the end hang on to like 20%. Right, you keep that 2.5 million, because you have to do the a certificate of completion for the work. You do the final walkthrough, and that's not the color we agreed on. Hey, you're missing baseboards here. You do the list, and then they do it, and then once it's completed, then within 30 days the final check gets released. You're right, it's in phases. what has happened in Huntington Park is a textbook, especially with the Aquatic Center. It's a textbook example on how you're not supposed to do shit. I mean, how you're not supposed to do things. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah,
okay.
Welcome to the club. Now you know how I feel. Yeah, so imagine...
How is this crazy to me? And essentially this is... Yeah. Okay.
I mean, this is 2018 that this is going on. 2018, 2019, 2020.
Before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we're like that's right in the heart of the pandemic. And instead of taking this money and using it for the businesses, for the people that are struggling in the pandemic.
For the community.
100%. I will tell you one thing about, the Aquatic Center that is the most infuriating. The money that was used for that project is not, it's not funds from the federal government. It's not funds from the state, right? The old council used funds from the general fund. And funds from the general fund, that's the people's money. That's tax dollars.
That's what I was going to say. That's taxpayers' money.
That's taxpayers' money.
That's our money.
100%. 100%. And that's the part that to me is the most infuriating. And I'll tell you this, because, obviously these folks are my political opposition. Now, I started having these conversations about not supporting the Aquatic Center, about investigating it.
Mm-hmm. And
the same week that we ended up removing Castillo, or that her seat became vacated, that same week, they served me with a recall paperwork.
Oh, yeah. Huevo.
So Graciela.
Hey, you stir up the pot.
So one of the former mayors, Graciela Ortiz, who happens to be the girlfriend of Efren Martinez, and I would say lifelong, but we're not sure about the timeline. But apparently, the person that was taking these votes is, last I checked, was in an intimate relationship with Efren Martinez. They're a couple. They're a thing. And so the whole time she's taking these votes, making this guy millions of dollars, making his, clients millions of dollars in contracts, and the whole time they're together.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about, like I said, the timeline is sketchy, but last I checked, they were actually like officially boyfriend and girlfriend. But her nephew, a gentleman by the name of Luis Becerra, is one of the main proponents of my recall. And they hit me.
Stir the pot, brother, because
but I think
you're doing the right.
I think they miscalculated something, and I think their miscalculation is I don't give a fuck. Like I have zero fucks. Like, oh, you're gonna have your nephew try to recall me? Guess what? I don't give a fuck. Oh, you're gonna try to convince the community to recall me? And it's the same stereotypical bullshit Latino attacks. He's a womanizer. He beats his dog. He drinks. He beats his wife. He beats his girlfriend. He beats his, like everything. Like, you're like, what? I don't even, like, you're literally sitting there like, huh? I'm not even married. I don't even have a wife.
I don't even have a dog, fool.
I don't even have a dog.
I don't have fetal lice around. You know what I'm saying?
I don't even have a dog. But they'll make shit up. And then the thing is,
of course.
And I'll tell you something.
Well, they're gonna attack their character.
They collected 100 signatures, which is what you need just to start collecting signatures. They need 4,000 signatures. And they published it with the wrong newspaper, so they had to start all over. And then the second round, when they did the 100 signatures, I ended up going to Stanley Mosque and I did a writ of mandate because I challenged the language. Because two things that they said that I can 100% prove are false. The first one, they said that I didn't live in the city when I got appointed to the city council. I have a lease agreement and I have a California state ID that says others. That says, the latter, that proves that. And by the way, the entire time that I've been on council, I've always lived in the city. I've never lived anywhere else. Unlike other folks that, I don't get my cities mixed up. I know where Southgate is and I know where HB is. So
it's divided on Santa Ana Street.
Exactly. Yeah, I know you don't cross the track. And so the second thing that they said was that I was being investigated. And I had to get a memo from the city that states that, that I'm not being investigated. And so that's the basis of me going to court, challenging their language, saying, you guys need to change that. And once they change it, then you go start all over. By the time they get done doing all of that, and they have to collect 4,000 signatures and get them certified by the county, by the time they get done with all that, even if it goes, let's say, into December. Right now we're in August, right? Let's say September or October, like October, they start collecting. October, November, December. They have 4 months. They have till January. Because it's already within the 6 months of my election, all that will do is just put whatever that is until the election. So it doesn't even matter. My election's still in June, and even if they do the recall and collect the signatures within the 6 months, it'll just go to.
We're gonna get you reelected, brother.
You know what? If I decide to run again,
it's a lot, right?
I will tell you one thing that. So when everything happened with immigration and I started being vocal, my emails sounded crazy, right? It sounded like one of those old chat rooms when it first came out.
Yeah.
People are saying shit that's out of pocket, like whoa. But then I'm in my community. I go to Culichi Town. I go to the restaurants in my city. I go to the businesses. Even like go say hi to friends. And their tios, the moms, their family is like, hey, can we get a picture with you? And I'm like, whoa. Con usted, Don Arturo. They told me that. Oh, Don Arturo, podemos hacer una foto. And it's weird. I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. And then they'll be like after, hey, gracias por lo que está haciendo. Like, se le agradece mucho. Yo sé que es difícil decir lo que dice y hablar la verdad, pero se lo agradecemos. Like, people really will stop me and say, hey, I want to thank you for, talking your shit and speaking up because other people aren't. And people were using me as the litmus test for other electeds, saying, you're not doing enough. Arturo's over here jumping on the news. Arturo's over here doing this. Arturo's over here telling his police to do that. And they're like, you're not doing enough. Some people even call me, hey, Arturo, like, what you're doing, my residents are asking this. And I say, well, they have a point. What the fuck are you doing? You're
basically,
but they have a good point. What are you doing? And I think a lot of electeds operate with, okay, I want to run for this next, so I don't want to say that. I want to do this next, so I don't want to, I don't want to take that position. And like I said earlier, what was the miscalculation about me is what? I don't give a fuck about none of that. We have something that's happening in our country. We're in a moment in time. Me and you right now are living in history. This is living history. Your kids, which are already older, but if you have younger ones or your grandkids and my kids are going to ask us, Dad, when all that was going on, what did you do? And you know what I want my answer to be? Everything I could. I talked my shit. I went on the news. I directed this, passed this ordinance, passed this law, moved this that way, did that, got arrested, whatever the fuck it takes. Whatever it took, I did everything I could. That's what I want my answer to be. And for some folks, it's like, well, the chief of police already told me that it could be viewed as obstruction of justice, and I don't want to get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Then you should resign. If you're an elected official and you have that mindset, I don't want to shake too much fast, please do us a favor and fucking resign, right? Is lead, follow, or get the fuck out of the way. And a lot of these elected officials need to get the fuck out of the way because they're literally there just taking up space and they're wasting critical time. We don't have time to be sitting there while they ponder and deliberate on what they're going to do. Us as a people, we have to move very quickly, efficiently. We have to be vocal because what's happening to us, now we see it's happening in D.C. and now it's happening to black folks. But we called it. It started with Latinos, and some black folks are cool with it. That's right. I'm the one that called them. Videos of them. Yeah, that's right. Get them out of here. And then now look what's happening in D.C. And they're using it under the guise of the same shit, criminalization. We're going after the criminals. And they pull up to D.C. where it's just a bunch of black families hanging out on porches chilling, and they're chasing people, like just making a mockery out of the police, out of the military, out of federal agents, have them over here chasing American citizens in D.C. streets and L.A. streets. I mean, I talked to some folks that with L.A. that thought L.A. was burning down, and I'm in downtown getting tacos, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, you talking about the federal building? Yeah, that's one building in the entire city. But they literally legit thought that the National Guard and the Marines were getting sent in here to save L.A. Which, by the way, they probably I'm just pissed off that those Marines didn't get a chance to get leave and hang out in L.A. and eat tacos, you know what I'm saying? Right? And enjoy some of the great L.A. That's what I'm mad about. That they should have gave them some R&R. Once they got done with their tour, they should have gave them R&R, let them really look at what's going on in L.A., get some tacos, get some nice ass.
Some taco vouchers? Like, hey, you could buy 5 de asada y 5 de...
Sabor colombiano right there on Union. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my whole thing. When we start having these conversations, like real conversations that happen privately, right? Mm-hmm. There's conversations that happen privately that I have no issue. If I say it in private, I'll say it publicly. Because then, you got to be careful because, and then you're up for re-election and people are going to, what if I don't run for re-election? Well, what's the next threat? Well, Arturo, you got to be careful because then, think of your future. You want to run for Congress, you want to run for Assembly. What if I don't want to do any of that? What if I don't have any political aspirations? Okay, what's the next threat? Right? And that's really what it works like. You have to really be mindful and catch where people try to put these mechanisms of control, because something like that is control. It really, what they're really telling you is shut your fucking mouth.
That's exactly what they're saying.
You know what I'm saying? That's what really they're telling you.
I mean, if you have to tiptoe around what you could say,
but they're doing it like, said it like, just speak. I would.
That's what I'm saying.
Down because, and they make it seem like it's something that's gonna help you. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, if you have to tiptoe about what you can and can't say, but and it's like kind of like,
okay, hear me out. But that's why I'm excited for the next generation of leadership. We don't function like how older Latinos function. You know what I'm saying? Like older Latinos function like they want to assimilate and they want to do the same thing and wear a tie and quorum and all that. Younger Latinos, like we're on a whole different level, right?
They were more vocal.
Oh, 100%.
And we don't give a fuck. Hey, I'm going to say how it is. And al que le guste bien.
People call it crashing out, but, people are so sensitive nowadays with discourse. Like me and you were able to sit here and have a conversation about this, that, and go back and forth. And when you're talking, I'll sit there and I'm listening. Okay, he's saying this, he's saying that. There's people that'll sit there and listen, but they already have what they're going to say planned out. You see what I'm saying? So, and in politics, a lot of it, people have concerns, and our party already has what they're going to do planned out. Look at what happened with the presidential election. They already knew that was going to happen. They already had it planned out.
Bro.
We're going to go ahead and vote for the nominee. Why? You guys already decided who it was. Why the fuck you need my vote? Well, to say that. And by the way, when for the DNC, I didn't cast my vote.
Really?
I didn't cast it. I had my phone was getting blown up. I was getting texts from people that I met 12 years in the party asking me, can you submit your ballot? Can you submit I didn't cast it. I didn't submit a vote. Why?
So it was already predetermined.
100%. What's the point of me, casting a ballot and being part of this charade when I feel like I didn't get a voice in selecting who I wanted our presidential nominee to be? Like you said, it was somebody that was literally shoved down our throats. And like I told you, if that was going to be the plan from the beginning, then you should have planned it out a lot better. And I laid it out what I would have done, the way I would have ran it.
And I think that's where they failed. Their plan didn't work.
Obviously, she didn't become president.
Their fucking plan failed.
She didn't become president.
And she failed miserably. Shit.
But and I'm glad that. So I know we keep touching on that, and I don't want this to be like a shit on Kamala podcast. But I will say this: when everything was said and done, when they looked at the numbers and people started coming out and saying Trump won because of the Latino vote, what are your thoughts on that?
But it was pretty resounding. I think the Latino vote was like 46%.
I mean, Trump won Latino males, I think, by
like a landslide, right?
51%.
Yeah.
I think it was more than half.
Yeah.
But my point is this: it's first of all, it's a valid point, and it's true. Trump did win a huge chunk of the Latino vote.
Yes, he did.
And so, I guess my question to you is what are your thoughts on that? Because right after the election was over, the way I saw it is they're looking for somebody to blame. We need to find somebody to blame.
I just think, like, my thoughts on it is, I think 48%. Them shoving Kamala down our throats. So, I mean, first of all, she didn't have primaries, right? There was a lot of things that didn't happen, but I just think that.
But why do you think Latinos went like with that? That was a huge number. Why do you think Latinos went towards Trump?
Okay, I think because Kamala was already vice president, right? And a lot of things that she was saying was like, I promised you that I'm going to do this. Well, essentially, I mean, she wasn't the president, but she was the right hand of the president. So there's a lot of things that I think that she was saying that she was going to do, but she was currently in office. And I think that people were just tired of that of Biden's administration.
And that's what you think did it? You want to know my thoughts on it?
Tell me, brother.
Let me tell you what my thoughts are. My thoughts on why is I don't give a fuck why. And let me tell you why. Because the entire time that you were running your presidential campaign, not once did the Latino community, population, immigration for the party take the forefront as in regards to issues. Mm-hmm. If I ask you right now, what was the platform that they're running in for Latino community, Latino males, or even for immigrants? And you're like, fuck, I don't know. That's right, because they weren't really talking about it. Yeah, you go to the website and then you click on the policies, and then they have some stuff that some intern drafted up. Mm-hmm. But during the debates, it was never something that was like, hey, let's just specifically talk about this, and let's talk about what are the issues that Latinos felt literally like an afterthought. And so my point is this: if our community, right, if you didn't have and I'm talking about the Latino community, if the Latino community wasn't in your mouth before the election, then keep, like Will Smith, then keep our community's name out your fucking mouth after. You see what I'm saying? Because you can't have your cake and eat it. If we were a non-factor before the election, then then we're also a non-factor after. After you want to try to blame somebody, then now Latino population.
But isn't that pretty repetitive?
In
regards to every 4 years, when it comes closer to election time.
Yes,
we care about you, compadres Latinos, and comadres.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hermanos. And then you start fucking, vamos a comer tacos.
But
then a new president comes in.
Yeah, it becomes.
And then you fucking become an afterthought.
Yeah, it becomes like.
I'm just saying.
What's the right word? It becomes like a cliche. Like, okay, yeah, go do your Latino little segments, and then that's it. But my point is this.
Charades.
Yeah, but my point is this. In the next 15 years, the demographic in the United States has been shifting a lot. First of all, just in general as a nation, like, and you know this, I have, friends that are black, that are white, that are married to Latinas. You know what I'm saying? I have,
great
friends.
Choice.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I mean, hey, I don't blame him. But my point is this, is that there is this diversity of families, right? When it comes to ethnicities. And our country has a fascination with this like racial classification and like racial, categorization, like you have Americans, and then you have like African Americans and Mexican Americans and Asian Americans and Armenian Americans and European, like, right, all this stuff. And I'll give you an example. I was in Afghanistan once, and I got attached to the British Special Forces. It's like the British Special. We're doing a mission out there, and I got attached to them. And I'm excited because these guys have these hello governor, hi Mike. So I see this black British guy, and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm like, hey bro, I'm like fucking 20 years old Marine, and I'm like sitting there. We're about to do an operation. I'm like, hey, and I'm like looking over. I'm like, hey bro, and I'm like, this is so cool. I've never met an African British before.
What do you say?
And the guy looks at me he looks at me like I'm fucking crazy. He looks at me like he's like, no, brother, I'm just British. And I'm just like, huh? And he's like, no, I'm just British. It's not African British. And that's when that's a first-hand example on like the fact that they might have colorism, but in England, you're just British. There is no African British. There's no Mexican British. If you're British, you're just British. That's it.
So you think that? Well, that's only an American thing, right? Here.
But even black people don't like being called African either, bro.
Well, when I was doing community college at Southwest, I had a lot of classmates that were African, Nigerian, Kenyan, Zimbabwe, and the professor one time called one of them black, and they almost lost their shit. Yeah, they're like, I'm not black.
Really?
100%. And they treated it like if it was a dirty word, like them being called black was a dirty word. I'm not black. I'm from Nigeria. I'm not black. Like offended, and I sat there and I'm like, what the fuck, like that?
What the fuck is going on?
She's fucking crashing out over this, and then it dawned on me, Africans, even they are racist against black people in America.
Just like how there's colorism in Mexico.
Isn't
I
that
just
fucking
posted.
Crazy? Africans from Africa are fucking, I wouldn't say racist, but have those sentiments towards black people in the United States about not wanting. I'm Nigerian. I'm not black, and I was just like, oh shit. Well, I guess when you run for office, then you'll be black, right?
Yeah.
When it's convenient. Then you're black.
You know who started slavery? This is a hot topic. Black people. Black people started trading to white folks. Black folks, bro. Like.
So then you get this info from Raj?
Look, I don't care who started it.
Because
right.
Yeah. Because one of his closest friends, Raj, which I had on the podcast, super bright young man.
He's a black man. I see what you're saying, but it's like me, right? Like, I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico. And if someone's like, oh, this pocho, this Chicano.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Mexican, dog. Like, you know, don't call me that.
Now,
I see that, but if people who are born here, you know.
It's almost like the Salvadoreños. When they say, oh, and then they get confused with Mexican and they get super like, no, yo soy de Salvador, maje. No soy mexicano, vos hipote. And by the way, I have Salvadorian family, so just so shout out to my Savi folks. Half of my nephews are Salvadorian, half they're.
Oh, my brother-in-law Salvadorian.
They're Mexican and Savi.
Yeah, no, my brother-in-law Salvadorian.
So. Calling a Mexican a Savi.
Puta madre, no te la vas a acabar, güey.
That's the one thing I love about our people, though. And I'll tell you this. Okay, all politics aside, our people, Latinos, Mexicans, Salvadorians, Hondureños, even if you go to a job site, we have the ability to bust each other's balls, right? And, you know, like, así somos. Like, even like, there's a video of this bus of people that are getting deported, and the guy starts talking about how they're, ahorita regresamos, vamos a ir vacaciones. Like, and then you know what I'm saying? And it just shows even when you're in a bus, that you just got arrested, you're going to get sent back who the fuck knows how many thousands of miles, and you still have a fucking, like, that's unbreakable spirit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one thing that, that this administration doesn't get is, like, our people have been through so much that you think that just by picking us up and taking us, a couple thousand miles over here, they'll be back. They'll be back in a week. Shit, I'd love for you to have somebody on the podcast that, I just got deported. I was at the Home Depot right here on Slauson last week. Yeah, and I just got here. I just came back, But I guess what I'm saying is, like, you have these discussions, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when we were talking about the party dynamics, where now you have active propaganda machines from both sides. And then the real question is, who do you believe? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
tough. And you know what my answer is? Fucking nobody. Believe nobody. Go out there and do your own home. And I get it. It's hard to go out there but you have the internet now. Go out there and look at some of these, media outlets that are more in the middle. That are just going to tell you this is what happened. This is what this I said. This is what this I said. If you just look at Fox the whole time, and by the way, I watch Fox, then you're just going to get that one-sided, like, it's funny how you see, like, Fox, how they report, and then how the rest of the world reports on stuff. We haven't even talked about Israel. We haven't even talked about what's going on in Gaza. Right?
That's a whole nother.
But that's my point. When you're talking about propaganda, when you're talking about, being a tactician and being a master of the art of propaganda, we are having a debate if it's okay to fucking bomb children. That's debatable. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
That's the point of humanity that we've reached. We're debating if it's okay to bomb the fuck out of clinics and hospitals and little kids. Or intentional starvation of millions of people. That's also being debated. And so you at some point have to take a step back and be like you really have to ask some of these people that are sharing this narrative, like, are you fucking serious? Like, where are the cameras? Like, is this
how did we get here though? Was my question.
It's very simple.
How did this become like?
Well, I'm not gonna say it's simple. Yeah. But it's natural. What it is, it's that you see it every day in the news. And you see it when a white teenager goes missing in America. Right? What happens? Everybody stops. National headlines. There's all this coverage. And then what happens when a Latina or a black girl goes missing in America? Oh, her pimp probably picked her up. Oh, she's probably out hanging out with the wrong crowd. So you say, how did we get here? It's very simple. The reason we got here is because they're normalizing violence against black and brown bodies. I'll give you an example of my city, of how we talk about normalizing shit. I had a resident, a family in my city that got into a car accident in the city of Bell. You might have seen the videos. It was a black Jeep that ended up crashing into a blue truck. And then it was ICE agents. And all the city of Bell came out.
Oh, okay.
And they're fucking tear gassing. So you have seen the videos.
Okay, yeah, that one.
Okay. A lot of people didn't know this. that black Jeep is a family in my city. They're my residents. It's Jorge and Jenny, which I've gotten to know by now. They were driving out of the car wash. ICE decided to hit the car wash and do a spot raid based, literally, racial profiling based on what people look like. People are running into the streets. Jorge almost ran over one of the guys that ran in front of him. A blue, like Ranger or Ford truck ended up cutting Jorge off and then ended up brake checking him. Mm-hmm. And a fender bender occurred, which, by the way, they caused. Okay. The coraje, right? Out of sheer pettiness, the truck puts it in reverse and slams into Jorge's Jeep. And burns rubber and then slams Jorge's Jeep into the back of a Tundra. A Tundra that was like sandwiches him into a Tundra. The truck's bumper jumps up and gets stuck on the Jeep's hook. Because shout out to the Jeep owners, but if you have a Jeep, there's 2 hooks in the front that the Jeeps have. It got stuck on the passenger hook. That's why they couldn't leave. They couldn't leave because the cars got stuck.
Oh.
Word gets out to all the people in Bell. ICE is right here. They're trying to take this guy. Everybody assumes that Jorge is undocumented. Because when they try to get off and break Jorge's windows, and it was Jorge and Jenny, and they were trying to break his windows, trying to get him out of the car, Jorge had his 1-year-old son in the back. So all this madness is going on. He has his kid in the back. He's like, I'm not opening shit. I'm not talking to nobody. Nope, I don't have to. I didn't commit a crime. She has every right as an American. You didn't commit a crime. You didn't do nothing. What ends up happening? People come out. They run ICE out of Bell. They slash tires. They break windows. You know what I'm saying? Like, they completely embarrass the federal government. You mean to tell me that they couldn't do a simple car wash raid on a small, tiny city? And they end up ran out of there by the people, embarrassed, had to get the vehicles towed. Like, it was bad. So a week goes by. Jorge's Jeep obviously got crashed into. So what does he do? He looks up how to put in a claim to get reimbursement for the damages that were caused on his car. And he goes and he submits an application to get reimbursed to get his car fixed. 3 days later, at 6, 7 in the morning, 45 ICE agents, Border Patrol, show up at Jorge's block. They block off the block. 15 of them go on the door. They put a shape charge on the window. They put a shape charge on the door, and they blow the door open.
Is that the one on California?
On Hope, yeah.
On Hope in California?
Yes, that's Jorge and Jenny's house. You see, connect the dots. Bell, HP. That's a family. And so Jenny was in the hallway. They put a drone in the house. Jenny was in the hallway with her 6-year-old and her 1-year-old laying on top of them when they pulled them out of the house. And seconds before they blew the window, Jenny was asleep right there on the bed, right where the window was at. And so that's the same family. The family from Bell with the fender bender is the same family where they blew the door off. And 30 minutes go by, and one of the agents, I forget what the guy's name is, calls Jorge because Jorge was at work. He had already left to work. It calls him, and he's like, have you talked to your wife? And he's like, yeah, I talked to her. She told me what happened already. Did she tell you what we did already? Yeah, she told me. And then they're like, where are you at? Let's go meet you. Like just straight up, like rubbing it in his face. Like, like, did she tell you? Did she tell you what we did? And he's like, yeah, I heard. And he's like, where are you? We're going to go meet you. And Jorge's like, no, I'm going to get a lawyer. I'm turning myself in. And he did. He went and ended up turning himself in. By the way, they made him wait 4 hours to process him. And then it took him about another 2 hours to get processed. And he got released on a $5,000 bond. Do you know what the charges were?
That's what I was going to ask. Under what charges?
Damage to federal property. Those were the charges. And so I tell people, because we have these conversations, I tell people, first of all, they caused an accident, right? And the charge was damage to federal property, and that's the response. 45, 50, fully tacked out, rifle, helmets, Kevlars, blow the window, blow the door. That's the response over damage to federal property. And by the way, those charges were dropped. That case was dismissed. And so that's where we're at. Like, they're doing things that are wrong, that are illegal, that you really can't defend as a person, as a man, as a human being. You can't defend them. But then people, when they're happening in real time, they say, well, you don't know what they did. Well, you don't know who Jorge is. Well, you don't know. That might be a bad hombre. Well, he's probably a cartel member. You know what I'm saying? I went when I found out about the explosion, I went that day. Within 20 minutes, I was on site. They were already gone. I was talking to the family. I was asking them what you said, what you thought. Who are you guys? What do you do for a living? Who are you connected to? Who are your people? Where your grandmama stay at? I was asking because I don't, you know what I'm saying? Because what would my chief of police tell me? Sir, stay away because we don't know who they are. Right? What would my advisor say? Don't touch it. Just, we don't know who they are. You're right. We don't know who they are. Let's go ask. And I'm telling you, because we've had other incidents where the families are not upstanding or your textbook, example citizens, but it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we have a constitution that provides due process, that provides freedom of speech, that provides, all those protections that's why America is so different from other nations. That's why we're are supposed to be this, thing that sets us aside. It really is that living document, the Constitution. And so, I went back. I went in the morning at 7:30 and I left. I have to leave because of, same thing. I have other stuff that I'm doing. I had to do meetings. I had to do other stuff. And I came back at 7:30 at night and their door was still 7:30 at night, Huntington Park. It's dark. Window still broken. I think they had already boarded up the window, but the door was still blown off its hinges. It was just leaning in their living room. Yeah. And so that's the kind of stuff you're talking about, over somebody just trying to get their truck fixed. Like, hey, you caused damage to my truck. Let's fix it. Yeah. And so so that's my thing is like, oh, they ICE did this raid. What to me the most disrespectful part about that, and it really takes the credibility away from immigration, ICE, Director Christy Nome, Bandino or Bombino, the central guy. What takes credit away from them is that they asked them about the incident. The media did, and they said, we don't comment on active investigations, but let this be an example of anybody that tries to prevent us from doing our job, that this is what's going to happen to you, or something along I'm paraphrasing. How do you say you're not commenting and then you go and comment on something and make it seem like, oh, this is what's going to happen because you interfered in an investigation, when it's like, actually, I would beg to differ. I would say that family was a victim of, these rogue federal agents that are just kind of cowboy status, Wild Westing it in our cities. No accountability.
Are they sworn officers?
They're federal agents. My understanding.
But do they have that?
Everybody that's a federal agent gets sworn in as a federal agent. Anybody that's a federal agent can enforce federal laws. From my understanding.
Okay.
They just have to get deputized.
That's what I was gonna say.
So that means that,
are they deputized?
They have to be. I mean, I hope so.
I heard some of them aren't.
I hope so. At a bare minimum, that's
which I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Now let's get back to the episode.
But
my fact checkers.
Yeah, I'm saying,
but that's my point. Is like, you have those stories, and then obviously you have 200-300 people that will come out and will point at examples of like, well, what about this guy? And then this guy was this guy was that. We already went over that. We already said that that's not the people that we're tripping about, right? Mm-hmm. What we said is, and with me, what I've said, and this is me when it first started in June. I said, look, the federal government has every right to do their enforcement, and we can't intervene. We can't. It's obstruction of justice. And I was very, I would say, toned down about it. And then stuff started happening in my city to my residents. And right now, if you ask me anything, I'm at my narrative, my view on ICE is fuck ICE. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. In Spanish, chinga la migra. Mm-hmm. I don't there is no honor. There is no integrity. There is not everything that they're doing. There's nothing there. And I'll tell you why. Because I quickly realized what it really was. This is a deliberate campaign of domestic terror against Latinos. And now in DC, black people. But in Southern California, LA, all those cities, it is literally an attack on the Latino community, right? And what we're seeing that's happening is that they're injecting fear. It is disrupting our way of life, our economies, our families. I mean, it is everything that they're hoping to accomplish, it's happening, right? And people will say, well, why would they go out of the way to do that? Well, it's very simple. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to release the Epstein files. And so you're going to have all these, I'm taking over the DC police. I'm sending the Marines to LA. I'm doing all these headlines that are going to capture headlines. And guess what? Before you know it, we're not even going to be talking about the Epstein files. Candace Owens already came out Tucker Carlson already came out. Joe Rogan. You have all these people that Theo Von. I forget what the other comedian's name. They all came out and said release the files. I'm sorry, like you're talking about protecting pedophiles, right?
Why do you think they're not releasing them? Do you think there's something bigger? There's
gonna be Democrats and Republicans in there. You have to understand.
High power people.
Well, is Prince Andrew? Is that his name? Prince Andrew? Is he a high powered people?
I would say.
Yeah, I would say too.
Yeah.
And that's somebody that is not just that's international. So it's not just about what American citizens, Democrat, Republicans are on the list of being of taking flights, being on the island. You're talking about international ramifications. Yeah. Yes,
it's not just American.
About a prince.
Yes.
So who else was over there, chopping it up with Epstein from other countries that are, powerful people?
So on that point,
right?
So the Biden administration had these files. They didn't release these files, right? So now the current administration has the same files that these people didn't release.
Yes. Which is rare because usually the only issue that Republicans and Democrats can agree on are like help for veterans. That's really the only meat in the middle is veterans, protecting and helping our veterans. And apparently
Which I think they should do more.
And apparently now the issue that they both can agree on, those administrations, is protecting pedophiles. Yeah. Because you're right, they didn't release the files
and
when Biden was there, and they didn't release the files when Trump was there.
Okay, great point.
And Trump's there now.
So great point.
So yeah, trip the fuck out.
So these motherfuckers here, they're like, no. Now, these motherfuckers over here are saying, no. Who are we protecting and why are we protecting them? Because there could be some, you're right, it's not just America. It's not just, these are world leaders that are on this list.
That's exactly what my theory is that the people that are on those lists are bigger than just your congressional or your Republican.
There has to be something. Yeah. But I'm not sitting here thinking that I'm these.
I feel like that's where Trump is like losing people because he ran on that basis of like, I will release.
Not only him, his entire base of support, all his generals, all his soldiers, jumped on the same narrative and said the moment, and the promises were made that the moment that he got elected, that they would be released. At the moment that they replaced the director, that then they would be released. Right, the director of the FBI, and then Pat Bondi made a comment that the files were on her desk, and then a week goes by and all of a sudden there are no files. And in my head I'm like, wait, you really expect us to believe that after a year-long campaign of release the files, then you go literally from saying we're looking over the files are on my desk, we're looking over them, and then now you're like, this is a Democratic conspiracy and it's being perpetuated by the Obamas and the Clintons. I don't know. You're like,
brought up a good point, bro, and maybe that's the reason why it's a good thing that those shits don't come out because we don't know who world leaders and maybe they're threatening Trump like, hey, if you let these shits out, World War III, like
actually, that's scary. Yeah, that you campaigned. Your whole basis on your campaign was the majority was on these files, right? Like, I'm gonna do this.
It was. I would say it was one of. I would say that was one of the pivotal talking points of the Trump, effort was the release of the Epstein files.
And I think Trump lost a lot more supporters over that than the immigration.
But hell yeah,
1,000%.
But the scary part here is, guys, is that you completely changed your narrative and your you calling your plan of action, because I think somebody was like, sir, you don't want to do that.
But do they forget that all of that is on video? Do they forget that all of those comments, those posts, the Twitter, what is it called now?
Twitter, X,
Truth, whatever.
Social.
Do they forget that all of that is canonized? All of that is documented.
Yeah.
Every post, every comment, I will die on my last breath to get this out. Everything is documented. So
everything changes when you're being controlled by a higher power.
To show. I mean, you see some of these press conferences with President Trump, and then in the back you have the FBI director of the FBI. I forget what his name is. He's an Indian guy, right? What's
Patel?
Patel.
No. Is it Patel?
Just because he's Indian.
Racist.
That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up.
Imagine it is.
But I'm saying he was at a press conference. Pat Bondi was there, and it's interesting. I mean, it's crazy, but you see, there's a picture that is like, if you could take a picture of cringe, of like turning over.
It is.
So it is Cash.
I was right.
But I'm saying, if you see that you can tell that on live, they're selling, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's just very.
What's the right word? Is it a political prostitute? Is that the right word? Because that's really what it is. But I'm saying, you're really selling your soul. I know, but there's people that were like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I resign. You know,
and that's commendable.
And go write a book. And go write
and
a book.
And gonna sell it for $10 million, unless there's a pond.
I mean, let me ask you a question. If Trump came to you and said, hey, I need a liaison for the Latino community, especially California, would you turn down a position from the Trump administration to be a liaison?
That's a good question.
I mean, you're Republican already, so it's not like, you're going to get blowback from, a party or political blowback.
I mean, it would all depend. And
you're not elected. You're not an elected person either.
It would all depends, but I would want to see things from, like, I don't want to be involved because I just think there's so much bullshit going on that I don't want no involvement in either party at this point.
Yeah.
Because I just think that these people are pointing the finger at these people, and these people are pointing the finger at these people.
And I want you to capture
that.
But I want you to capture what he said. I just don't even want to be involved. What you just said is literally for the past, I would say, the past 25 years, even 30 years. What you just said is you just captured emotion, a sentiment that a lot of Americans already have. You know what? I just don't want to be involved with that shit because it's this, that, and everybody's the same. And that's the frustration of this kind of, it doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what we say. They're going to do what they're going to do. They're going to steal what they're going to steal. They don't give a shit. And in HP, on Slauson, we ended up doing a repaving, and they were going to get rid of all that parking on Slauson. And the business owners came out, and they were like, hey, I have 2 parking spots, and then that's my business. That's it. There's nothing else. And then, the business owners came out, and we're like, we get it, but, we didn't know. Nobody came to us. Nobody talked to us. And the council, just from their testimony, ended up changing course, and we left. We just redid the striping exactly as it is. We left the parking as it is because the business owners came out and voiced that. And that's an example. Like, that's an example of, like, the power of, like, local government and actually going and actually, imagine if they would have just said, oh, it doesn't matter. They're going to do what they're going to do. Yeah. Their business would have probably gone under. They would have probably gone out of business. They would have probably not been able to, have their employees park or customers park. And so, to some extent, I agree with you with that sentiment of, like, the defeatism of, like, you know what, it doesn't even matter. But at some point, you know what I'm saying, when you have to turn that corner of, like, the defeatism and say, okay, it's time for us to roll our sleeves up. Because my frustration is that I rarely hear, like, my voice at those tables. And I would say my voice is a voice of, like, the pragmatic, this is what's actually really happening, or, like, just calling stuff like it is, the good, bad, the ugly, even if it might, that'll hurt this or that might not. It doesn't matter. Just
no, you're right. I agree 1,000%. It just, there's so much going on that I think you're right. At some point, we're gonna need more voices.
And plus, what about when you have to make the choice between paying rent or going to a council meeting? What are you going to choose? Pay rent. And so that's what we're finding out, is that a lot of the times with involvement, engagement, it really is, one, the biggest issue in Huntington Park, ownership. We need to pay. I don't care if it's single residence. I don't care if it's condos. I don't care if it's duplexes, triplexes, studios. We just need to make sure that people become owners. So we could do a development and say, hey, we're going to do a development, 350 units. We're going to have a few studios, some 1 bedroom, some 2 bedrooms, some 3 bedrooms, and all condos, all ownership. Now you just created 350 owners, not 350 renters. Now it's almost, you could say, even HOA, right? 350. Those people are going to want to make sure that when they come out of their apartment complex, the streets are clean, that, you know, there's not anybody that's unhoused or homeless, or, you know, at night they're hearing gunshots or, you know, crime, they're going to want to speak up about it, right? And so my thing is, even as we kind of move in the direction with Huntington Park, is that for the past 10 years, the former council that was in control of the city was very intentional with not letting the city grow. And I'll tell you why. Because they didn't want to change any of the voter dynamic. The people that voted were the people that voted, and that's it. And Huntington Park, usually our turnout is like 3,000, 2,500, 3,000. That's it. And those are the people that voted. In a city in HP, think about it. In a city in HP that has maybe like 57, 60,000 people, 28,000 households, what, 2,500 people voted? Like, look at the...
That's it?
That's it. That's it. And when you would do the vote counts, pretty much if you were able to get 1,400 votes, you get elected as a council member in HP. Now the number's gone up because they do the alignments with the midterms and they do alignments with the presidentials, so they went up a little bit. But why would I, if I have power and I have 1,500 people that always vote for me, why would I then want to build housing to bring in or to have other people move into it? Why would I want to change the voter demographic? Why would I want to develop? Why would I want to bring in new businesses that are bigger companies that are actively involved? Because now you're talking about the business community, and they're going to want to protect their businesses and their investment, and they're going to be active, right? So they're going to be in tune. They're going to be stakeholders. And so everything that I'm talking about is the voices of different stakeholders, elevating them, amplifying them, empowering them. And, you know, the old council, they didn't want that. They didn't want that. Just let us just do our business, and we don't want growth. We don't want development. We don't want none of that. Right?
Everything to remain the same, like with no change, right?
100%. And so that's why right now in Huntington Park, we're in a place in our city where the council now is shifting, and we want economic development. We want new housing projects. Like, we have 2 or 3 housing projects that are in the works, right?
Really?
Yeah, we have one that is right down Pacific. It's going to be a 4-story one. I told my city manager, can you ask them if they want to go higher, if they want to do higher density? And he's like, well, I haven't. They didn't,
Where?
They didn't mention it. It's right there by Pacific and 55th, where Mi Lindo, Sinaloa is at.
But is this going to be...
It's going to be units that are going up.
But it's not low income.
No, it's market rate.
Well, it's market rate.
Yeah, it's market rate.
And is this by like private equities?
You have to remember, the last housing project that was approved in Huntington Park was like 12 years ago, and it was one of the like senior housing homes, because I think the old council thought the only housing that gets approved here is for seniors or veterans. That's it, nothing else. And so for me, it's like, you have families like yourself. You have a son that's what, 22 now, 20 whatever. 22. Okay, I don't want to age you, but my point is this: if you live in a city, wouldn't you want your son to say, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna get my own spot"? Mijo, they just did there's apartments right here. Wow. Just get one of those. We can't offer that in Huntington Park. The moment that someone wants to, leave, if the inventory for houses or apartments is not there, they have to leave the city. And so to me, that's not okay. So we have to inject inventory into our market, because we have people that are literally living in, a 1-bedroom that could afford a 2-bedroom. They're living in a 2-bedroom that could afford a 3-bedroom. That are living in a studio that could afford a 1-bedroom. But you know what the issue is? We don't have the inventory to accommodate. And so when you don't have the inventory to accommodate, you cannot have that movement, right? Of people moving up in housing and sometimes moving down. And it really is like that economy of like, local, migration and stuff, of like moving from one place to another, or based on like you get a raise, now you can afford a bigger apartment, or now you can afford a condo, or now you can actually buy property if it opens up, right?
So is the city of Huntington Park for ADUs, and since we have such a shortage?
So the issue with ADUs, and I'll be very frank, the issue with ADUs is that we have the RENA numbers, right, which are the RHNA. It's a mandated number of units that we have to build by 2028 or 2035 by the state of California. Huntington Park's number is 2,500 new units of housing. They only allow 5% of ADUs, which means it's like about 350 ADUs that they will allow to go towards the count. We still have to generate 2,200 actual units, new units of housing. And so we cannot...
Where?
And that's my point. So you look at...
So you would have to go up.
Yes. Huntington Park is only 3.3 square miles. We cannot grow land. So
exactly.
The future of Huntington Park is the sky. The future of Huntington Park is up.
New York style, basically.
I would like New York, but
you know what I'm saying? Like,
you try
go
to
up. We can't go this way no more.
You try to convince developers as to why they would come to Huntington Park and build a 17, 18, 20 story building. What would be your selling points? Right? First of all, we have to figure out a way to make connecting to downtown a lot faster.
I was going to say, my selling point would be
which could be
the proximity to Los Angeles.
But let's
downtown.
just say not proximity. Let's say that there's an expressway. At some point, you catch the 10, you exit the HP Vernon exit. The first exit is Vernon. The next exit is HP. Even on a bad day, you can get from downtown to HP in 5 minutes. Now you're like, what's going on in HP? But you see what I'm saying? But those are projects that right now I wouldn't want that, because obviously we're dealing with ICE and we're dealing with, I wouldn't want to do anything that allows people to come in and out of our city quickly. But you're right, along Slauson, that all area could, in the future potentially look like Wilshire. Wilshire has 17, 18 story buildings all up and down. Mixed use, first two stories, mixed use businesses, then, another story for offices or 2 stories for offices, and then the rest housing. What I will tell you is that I do champion is rooftop, like green top, right?
Okay.
Like 1010 Wilshire.
Yeah. Beautiful
Example of green top and communal spaces for people that live in those areas.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're moving in that direction. Like it's a lot. First of all, I just came to the council in 2022. Let's get that out of the way, right? This is not even 2 years ago.
And you making noise already.
Then we get hit with the council person that doesn't live in the city. So we have to deal with that. Then we get hit with the DA raiding the city and doing those 11 search warrants for the Aquatic Center scandal. Then literally within months of that, we get hit with the June 4th initiation of all the raids and ICE and all that. And so we have to deal with all those crises, and then simultaneously we have to make sure that the trash is picked up, the streets are swept, lights are. We still have all these capital improvement projects that are still going for replacing lights, making the streets safer. We have a bike path that's coming in on Randolph that's going to go all the way to the river. That already went from the segment A was already done from the rail the rail station all the way to Slauson, and I want to say it's like Compton or Hooper. They already completed it. Now it's District 2 HP and Bell, which takes us to the river. And they're trying to do sharrows, and I'm like, dude, we cannot do sharrows. Like, that shit is scary. Riding a bike and all of a sudden you're sharing lanes with traffic. No, I said we have to preserve the bike path, the hybrid, elevated curb, all the way to the river, so people feel safe when they come with their kids, their families. So we have a bunch of developments that are going on, capital improvement projects, but at the same time we're simultaneously trying to essentially detox from all the funny business and the corruption from the old council that was there, and from their influence, and from these frivolous recalls that they're trying to do, thinking that it's gonna like scare somebody. It's not. And then everything that comes with that shit. I mean, was it 4 days ago, somebody was following me 10 o'clock at night coming out of City Hall. Somebody starts following me home. Well, not home, they're just following me, but
crazy.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, brother.
It's nuts, dude.
That shit is crazy.
It's nuts.
Well, now we're friends, so you just call me, bro.
I'm sure a few, I was in the Marines, man, so I tell people all the time, look, I kill better men for less. No, it's true. You know what I'm saying? The corporal, lance corporal pay, it's shit pay. It's not the best pay. But my point is this, I grew up in South Central, right? Like, I grew up in South Central, there was 10 of us, right? Like, my mom and dad had 10 kids.
Wait, you have 9 siblings?
Yes. 9 siblings. Just from my mom and dad.
That's a Mexican. That's a Mexican straight.
My dad was
my uncle's.
My dad was a philanthropist, and he had another 8 kids with another woman.
So we have to be related. It's like my grandpa. He had 8 and 11.
I have 17 brothers and sisters. 17 total.
Shit.
And so naturally, I never joined a gang. because there was just so many of us. Like we were
had your own gang.
We were that family on our street where everybody went to our house to play. Everybody, like we were the brothers that were like, if we started skateboarding, the whole block started skateboarding, right? If we're out playing football, and I trip out, we would play football on the street asphalt with broken glass. You know what I'm saying? And when, you know, there was kids that would literally throw themselves to like diving catches on asphalt with broken glass on the street. And I think about it, I'm like,
and no injuries.
That's a staph infection waiting to happen.
You know what I'm saying? Nowadays,
I'm like, that is not healthy.
Yeah.
But I originally grew up, you know, in South Central LA. I actually didn't grow up in the best household, you know, with all those kids. Yeah. And at the age of 16, I actually ran away from home. At 16, I ended up running away from home. So I've been on my own since I was 16. Not on my own because I ended up...
Okay, you ran away and you didn't come back home?
Oh, they brought me back. Yeah. So when I was younger, I started having a lot of issues with my dad. First of all, my dad's first generation, machista, very, very abusive. I mean, you know the type. But me and my older brother started rebelling against kind of that hypocrisy, the abuse, because it was really out of control. And so what we started doing, we just started calling the cops. You know what I'm saying?
Really?
Like whenever he would try to like beat on us or whatever, we just call the cops. Yeah, we just it is what it is. And then there's a time where my dad told me, like, this is my house, my rules, and if you don't like it, then get the fuck out. And I left. And then like a week and a half later, the cops bring me back home. Like, no, you can't run away from home.
Like,
I was like, I guess this is not Mexico.
Aquí no estás en un pueblo. No, yeah. Aquí es diferente.
And then I realized like very quickly that not only can I not run away from home, they also have to feed me. They also have to buy me clothes. They also have to buy me school supplies. Like my dad always had us go to work with grandpa to pay for that stuff. Like if I wanted shoes, he'd be like, go to work with your grandpa. If I wanted a backpack, go to work with your grandpa. And the whole time I grew up thinking like, damn, we're poor. And no, my dad had 2 properties, had his own business, had apparently another family, whole has other family.
Oh, he's really Mexican.
So he was just a straight like cheapskate is what he was. And so I haven't talked to my dad in like 20 years.
No way. So there's no relationship there.
No relationship. I think the last I heard he was like in Mexico, either like between Tijuana and
so he has no clue of the success you've had.
I imagine that it's social media. So I imagine that he does see that. But I'm gonna be very frank with you. Like I don't talk to my dad. I have no intention of re-engaging that relationship with my father, or him being a part of like my life or my family or anything in the future. I went through a lot of family therapy. I came to terms with that, and you know, to each their own. He'll end up, you know, living his life, knowing, you know, the crimes he did and the harm that he caused myself and people that I love, my family, and he's gonna live with that. But with me, it's like that's something that I don't even dwell on it. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you like this: when I became mayor, and this is probably one of those you know things that are like, you know, a teachable moment. When I became mayor, and I have 17 brothers, right? And when I became mayor, I had a younger brother that's a half brother, and this guy started fucking trolling. Started trolling me. He started going on social media and posting about, you know, my dad, some stuff that he had done 20 years ago, right? Literally.
Hey,
and,
what?
Yeah, like vigilante. Like we need to find this person, and he's over here, and he's being protected and hidden. And apparently, I was the one that was doing the protecting and hiding. And I was talking to my older sister, and I'm like, dude, I don't talk to this. Like, where's this guy getting this, right? So this is one of my younger brothers that lives in Iowa. Like fucking, apparently from Iowa, the day that I became mayor in Huntington Park.
He found out. He got the memo.
Or saw the live. And it sucks because this is my younger brother, right? And, you know, your siblings, you have love for them, you care for them. But, you know, whatever he's going through, and I'll tell you just kind of my mindset behind it. First of all, clearly he's going through some shit in his life, right?
Yeah.
And he's not happy with his life if he's over here worried about what's going on in California. I didn't even engage him. I didn't even acknowledge it. I ignored it. Like, all right, whatever it is, what it is. Because they were just comments, you know. But this guy went into, like, the Facebook for, like, the rancho, right? My family rancho, and started airing out all the families, you know. I wouldn't say the skeletons because they're not skeletons. My family has never hidden it. We've never tried to cover it up, right? Like what my dad did. If anything, we called the cops, filed the report, right? Made sure that people that were being victimized were being protected. Like that's what my family did, right? But it's not my place to bring up and talk about, to re-victimize people by talking about those situations, right?
I get it, yeah.
Like I can't do that. It's not my place to do it. But with that being said, like to me, it really had an impact on me seeing that I had a younger sibling, regardless of whatever he's going through, that took a moment that was supposed to be a moment where we're all celebrating. Like Arturo became mayor for his city, and then he took that as a moment to say, "Oh, well, we need to be doing this and this and this," and you guys and Arturo's all part of that. And in my head, I'm like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
it's so heartbreaking. Like, damn, what is going on in your life that is so shitty that you gotta come and shit?
But the thing is, with wealth and politics, with power, it's not you that changes. You know what I'm saying? You don't change. The people around you start seeing you different. They start changing, especially when there's an entitlement. Fuck, if you hit the lottery, if we were to go right now and you hit the lottery, and then he's like, "Hey, bro, I opened the door for you when you went in to buy the lottery ticket. That's at least 100,000. Minimum.
Right? Hey, remember that one time before I bought you coffee?
But people,
you bought it with my money, but it doesn't matter.
But people take, and it could go both ways, right? There's some people that will grow with you and they'll embrace it and they'll elevate and empower you. And there's other people that are like, why not me? Like, why you? Right?
I agree.
We talked about the whole Nipsey thing earlier with somebody that Nipsey.
Jealousy is a motherfucker, bro.
It really is.
Envy.
Man. It really is. And so I think with that being said, when you have those conversations about, catching strays from places that you wouldn't expect it in politics, usually in politics, the way that it is, and I've been doing this for quite some time, when you have something that can be compromising, you identify where the source is, because usually it's not the messenger. Usually it's somebody else that's doing the things. You identify the source, and then you literally you hit at the knees, right? You either find something that they have going on, or you either cease and desist. You mobilize, you activate. You don't stay with your hands crossed, and either you bury it, or whoever the fuck's behind it, you make it very clear that you're gonna, that the same way that you're throwing putazos right now, you better have a strong jaw. And usually people back down. Oh, well, okay, got it. With this case, it's like, this is my family that's doing this. You know what I'm saying? So how do you navigate that? The way I did is I just blocked him on Instagram. He sent me a message on Facebook and said, thanks for the support, which was like literally to me gaslighting. Yeah. Telling me thank you for the support for this crusade that he took up after 20 years of trying to find, my estranged father and bring him to justice for, crimes that he committed. So it's one of those things where,
I hope he's okay. Yeah.
Who, my younger brother?
Your younger brother? Because obviously he's going through some shit, or he was.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go out of your way to reach out to like the gossip, circles of my city.
That's just ill-intended, brother.
Yeah.
Sorry. Then I know he's your brother.
Then at that point, it goes into sturdy, dog. It goes into maliciousness and
hella malicious.
And I usually make it a point not to even talk about that topic. Yeah. You said, what can you talk about? I can talk about. I make it a point not to talk about that topic, not because of me. Like, I don't care. I'll talk about it. Yeah. I'll mention what it is. But I'm very mindful that there's people that were involved, that were victims, that I love, care for deeply. That is really what makes me upset, is that re-victimization of that. And so, we continue to navigate this space of the politics, and I have no intention of people. The next and state senate and assembly, and I'm like, no, I'm not interested. Like, I'm not trying to catch a flight to Sacramento. I'm not trying to be catching flights to DC. Like, I'm good locally. I like being local.
So you wouldn't want to be?
No, that's what
you wouldn't want to take Gavin Newsom's job?
No.
And do a way better job? No. I mean, I'm just saying.
No, bless his soul, but no, because the thing is that Governor Gavin Newsom became governor, and the entire time his intention was to run for president. So he's been president. He's been running his campaign for presidency since before he became governor.
And then he just in that pathway.
That's
mismanaged $24 billion.
Every decision that is made on his behalf will be made with the intention of the preservation of that candidacy of that campaign.
Let me ask you this. The city of Huntington Park was held accountable. The DA did their investigation and is currently doing it, right?
Yeah, it's still active.
It's still active. Now, when you mismanage $24 billion, like who holds Congress, Gavin Newsom, etc. accountable?
So with the state, that would be the federal government. So the state, when you're saying if there's a mismanagement of, I would imagine, was federal funding, then at that point you have a congressional oversight committee that's able to order investigations to look into, like you said, the state of California, and to do a full like a financial audit, like a very thorough about where every cent went, where every dollar went. And what we find most of the times with some of these projects or contracts is that they're usually very top heavy, meaning that, you know, you give $1 million to an organization and they'll use the first, 50 or 60, thousand is admin. Is the director and the program manager and the overseer of that manager and the supervisor for that supervisor and the supervisor for that supervisor. And then now you're like, oh yeah, then now we have $30,000 for the actual program. And so you literally end up getting, like, for every dollar, like 15 cents will go to the actual people that actually need it. And half the time, they're inflated contracts. Half the time you can literally hire one person to literally say, hey, we're going to give you X amount and you're going to disperse that. But it's crazy because you'll have one big nonprofit that'll come in and they'll get the huge, 24 billion or whatever it is. They'll be dispersed between the different nonprofits, and then they'll have their network of nonprofits that they'll get dispersed. And so think about it. At every level, there's admin costs. The state would have been better off just literally cutting people a check. 24 billion, they would have been better off just cutting people a check, or just the state themselves building the housing and housing.
That's just wild to me, brother.
I'm not privy to that, the mismanagement or the stuff with the state, but I guess now I have homework. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it was like
I'm gonna be leaving here con tarea.
Yeah, I think it was for the homeless.
Yeah, it was for what was going on with the unhoused and the homeless crisis, where you had city of LA, Seattle, New York. You had all these major cities that had people that were just during the pandemic losing their jobs, not being able to pay rent, getting evicted. I mean, it was just a chain of events, like a snowball effect. Yeah, and I think it really put into perspective the importance of housing. Not only just housing, the importance of actual government housing and the housing authority, for us to have an inventory. Like, my goal for Huntington Park is for us to have at least 400 to 500 units of inventory that we can tap into as a city whenever a wife, right, a girlfriend with their kids that's being, domestic violence victim wants to leave, that we can get her temporary housing, or, even permanent housing while she figures it out, right? Okay. Or people that, like you said, fall on hard times, they lose their jobs, everything. Like, we have to have those safety nets in place for our city. Right now, the way that it is we have a community clinic in our city where people get dropped off through the 5150 eval, and then when they get done with their eval, they just let them out into our city. And they'll come from across the county, LA, downtown LA. A lot of times they're not even HP residents. Right? And so we can't really discriminate and say, wait, are you from HP? No, I'm from Bell. Okay, well then go to Bell. Or no, I'm from Montana. So do we get you a ticket to Montana? A train ride? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what we're dealing with. Is that a lot of times these people that are chronic homeless or are unhoused are not from our cities, or are from adjacent cities or neighboring cities. And so at that point, if the city of Huntington Park is providing services to, 100 people, and they're all from Maywood, at what point do we say, like, hey, these are your residents? Right?
Yeah.
The last known record of address was your city. So where does the buck stop? Who's responsible? And historically, the county, LASA, has been one of the main, because they just say countywide. Okay. Or they do it by SPA areas, like service provider areas. Okay. SPA 7, they break it down. But clearly, whatever model they have is not working. And so I would say that the way that you deal with it is city by city basis, because now at that point you're able to say, look, if in my city we're getting more homelessness because people keep getting displaced because they can't pay rent, then we should probably have a program that helps with rental assistance where we help them pay the rent, especially if it's like people are getting evicted because they're backed up 1 month.
Really?
But I'm saying, like, when you have those incidents,
I was like, oh, really? Where?
The moment
the
moment that you miss your rental payment, you can get paid. You could get served with a 3-day pay or quit.
Yeah.
You know, and so yes, there's all these protections in place. COVID had protections, but the point that I'm getting at is that the homeless issue is dynamic. It's complex. It has what I call feeders, the things that feed into the homeless issue. Some of them are not being able to pay rent. Some of them are being on drugs. Some of them are literally just mental health, not drug related. And some of them are people that just don't give a fuck. They want to just live in the train tracks and live in a tent and be able to walk out and take a shit and a piss and then go back in and keep watching whatever they're watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people that's how they want to live. They're nomad. They want to have the nomad lifestyle.
That has to be like a 50.
Well, then my point is, My point is that
okay
there's
with that.
people,
You know,
there's people that like to not be part of the system, not pay rent, not have any obligations. Like, and so my point is, do you then, as a city, as a state, do you then say, hey, if that's what you're into, if you just want to go somewhere where you literally just live, shower, and, you know, eat, and just live life, enjoy nature, then there's a preserve or whatever. There's a preserve. You can be part of that community. I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, then who governs it? Then do they have their own police department? Do they have their own laws? Right? Like, but
okay, then you open, yeah.
But I'm saying you do have people that doesn't matter. They're going to tell you no. Hey, we have beds available. No. Hey, we have temporary housing for you. No, I'm good here. Right? So, I mean, it's a number of things, but I don't know. That's above my pay grade.
That's crazy.
That's above my pay grade. I ended up touring the Bell, the homeless shelter for the city of Bell.
And where's that one at?
It's literally on the north end of Bell. It's over there, like on the other side of is it the 710, I think?
Yeah, because you cross the bridge.
Yeah, it's right there by the Salvation Army. And by the way, they do an amazing job. I think they can up to 350 or 400 and something beds. And then across from where they're at, they have actual housing that they built. And they transition people in. And by the way, their housing, I think they said they have like one opening a year on the housing. They'll have one
That's
opening.
a good thing.
Yeah. That means
it doesn't create more crime?
Well, they had an issue on the commerce side with people living in the creek. And there was people that got kicked out of the shelter because, you know, either they're too aggressive or they didn't want to abide by the rules. And so they're like, no, fuck this. I'm going to go live in the creek. But they'll still come.
It's a little tent.
Yeah, they'll come and they'll access the services and then they'll go back to their creek. They just don't want to deal with the structure. Yeah, and trip out. They even have, shout out to the Bell, the shelter for the city of Bell, by the way. In Salvation Army, they have an area for like vets, for veterans.
Okay.
And it's all veterans that are unhoused. And you go from like the one was like just, you know, normal people into the vet. And the veteran one is like, it's all clean. Like, it's all organized. They
fucking do their beds with fold their corners.
I was tripping out. I was like, oh, man. It was just, like, very patriotic. They had some flags up. They had book. I was like, man, this is, like, you know, but I don't know. When you have, first of all, we should never have a homeless vet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree with you.
There should be no such thing as, like, I'm on.
Sorry for interrupt, but we're close to 2:30, and I know you say you had.
Yeah, we're good. We got to go eat.
Yeah, let's go. But on that point, I think you're 1,000% right. There should be no veterans that are homeless that are dealing with that. You fought for our country. I think the government needs to do more and should take care of every single vet. Yeah. That's just me.
No, I agree. I think, look, regardless of how you want to see it, the United States of America, we're in, you know, I guess you want to say capitalism, right? It's capitalist driven, but at the same time, we're also imperialistic, right? We go into other nations. If we don't like what their leaders are doing, we destabilize them, we overthrow them. You know, we did it in El Salvador, we did it in Guatemala, I think. We did it look at the Contras. We literally poured drugs into black and brown communities to get money to fund the war against the Sandinista movement. Right, in Nicaragua, right?
I believe so.
It was one of those countries. But my point is that we meddle. As a country, we meddle. And we have men and women that answer the calls, whether it's Iraq, Afghanistan, for whatever reason you want to say, whether it's oil or whether it's for the precious metals or whether it's for strategic international reasons, they answer that call and they go and they do the government's bidding. And some of those, the things that are asked of us are, atrocious. There's things that, you know what I'm saying? Like, as humans, if you get to the point where you you get to a point where you disagree, to the point where you have to start killing each other, like, that's a failure of humanity. I haven't met not one person that has fought in a war that I can't wait to go back and keep fighting the war. Usually the ones that have seen the worst of humanity, of, killing or maiming, or they're like, it's the worst thing ever. And we should be exploring every option to prevent the sending of our daughters and sons, men and women, to different lands, different, countries, to die or to sacrifice themselves over a failure of diplomacy, right? And I think that's where, with America, when we have these conversations, and I know I talk a lot of shit, and I know I say some things that people might get up in arms about, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I love this country. Like, I love the United States of America. It's hands down one of the best nation, I would say, in the world. And a lot of the reason is because of that thing that we like to call the Constitution and those amendments. That living, breathing document is what sets us apart, makes us different, and is why people, this idea of the American dream, this idea of coming to the United States and being able to exercise the religion you believe in and being able to say the things you believe in, right, without consequence. And that's why I say what I say and do what I do, because it's with immigrants right now. We're dealing with immigrants. Later on, it's guns, and then later on, it's just freedom of speech. And so, you know what I'm saying? It becomes a race to the bottom. And so, I tell people whenever I can, this is our call to action to say, no, there has to be something in America that we can all agree needs to be protected besides children. And so to me, it's the Constitution, because obviously with the Epstein stuff that's going on, I don't even know if that's something we can all agree on now with that bullshit and the not releasing it. But at least with the Constitution, can we at least agree on that and say that that's something that we don't impose, trample, ignore, play with, right? Because it is a very slippery slope. You're literally tearing away at the foundation of what the things that this nation and beliefs that it was built on. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
I agree. Man, 3 hours, brother.
That's it?
That's
2.5 hours, that's it.
No big deal.
What? Well, let's go eat, man. I'm hungry.
Me too. I really enjoy this, man. Think we're going to develop a great relationship. I think
whenever you want to bring me back, let me know. Like I told you, they're trying to do a recall. That I still have to deal with that. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. My election, if I decide to run for re-election, will be next year in June. And I imagine that between now and then, there's going to be some, stuff that comes out regarding the city. And I tell people, like, everything that you see with Huntington Park, that's one project out of the past 10 years. That's one project, one tranza. Okay. I say, so could you imagine the rest? And so people say, Arturo, take care of yourself. I tell people, ICCW. You know what I'm saying? ICCW. I don't play that shit.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't blame you.
I didn't ask for permission, but I'm packing. You know what I'm saying? I'm packing because, it is
so
what
you
it is.
fools fuck around and find out.
I'm never less than 2 seconds away from a firearm. Never. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be gardening, and right where I'm gardening, right there, 6-hour P320. You know what I'm saying? Or if I'm in the living room chilling, just hang out with my family, then I have my Galil right there with
it's the best
with
way.
the freedom. I call it the Freedom Week clip, 30-round Freedom Week clip.
Oh shit!
Hey, got it.
Fuck around and find out, dude.
I got it on that loophole. Freedom Week. Let me get the 30 round.
That's what's up, man.
But we're obviously you pray that it never gets to that point, But you saw what happened in Minnesota. You had two state lawmakers that were targeted by somebody pretending to be a cop and murdered husband and wife, and then attempted murder two other ones. So, or unalived, and then try to unalive the other two. So
protect yourself.
Yeah,
at all costs, man.
Yeah.
We live in a crazy world, man.
But I'm blessed. So I got people around me that they take care of me.
Good.
I really do. I got people around me that really look out for me and will really give me a heads up on stuff. So.
And when you do decide if you're gonna run or not, let me know. And we'll support you 100%, and we'll make it happen. All right, my brother?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Let's go eat some burgers. Okay, well, actually, this is the last question. Name me the top 3 burger spots in Huntington Park. Your top 3, not mine.
Oh, man.
Your top 3.
Okay, we have In-N-Out, right?
Okay, mom and pop.
But I will tell you this: the mom Andy's is a really good one. You know where Andy's is at?
Andy's?
That's right there on Santa. Is it Santa Fe Slauson? It's on Slauson.
It's right before. Yes.
So Andy's is a really good one. That I will say is a really good burger spot. Then there's another one that's the Tommy's. Come on.
You can't. Come on. Okay. You had to throw in Tommy's.
And I have to do a celebrity. The chili cheese fries there are amazing. But it's not a burger; it's a chili cheeseburger. Okay. But Tommy's is another one. And then I would say another one that's like my go-to that I would say is it's a Tams. You gotta go with the Tams, man. That's a classic.
I respect that.
That's right there. HP high. You walk down to the Tams.
We're gonna take you to Pops. I want you to check it out. Let's go. We out, baby.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss our weekly episodes. Let's go, baby.